Welcome back, everybody. Once more, we must reconvene our dark council to talk about a bad show.
Yeah. We'll talk about a good show one day.
Oh, but first, we should probably do a warning up front. We can include it this time.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a big fan of Yuki Yuna, you probably don't want this. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't listen to this.
But if you aren't, for any reason, hey, welcome back.
And if you've never watched Yuki Yuna before and are wondering what it's like, we've got some things to talk about, I suppose.
Yeah, we can tell you all about it.
Yeah. It's not very good.
No.
Yeah.
But, okay, so it first is important to establish the context. And the context is Madoka.
Yes.
So Madoka was in 2011, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I remember Yuki Yuna was 2 years after Madoka.
Yes.
And obviously Madoka was very popular. A lot of people liked it. We both like it a lot.
Yes, yeah. It might be my favourite anime, just in terms of just how well it's constructed.
Yeah, it's way up there.
Yeah. In terms of just a show with a cool idea and just how well it's put together, I don't think I've seen anything crafted that well in this genre, I guess.
Same.
Like, it's really solid.
Wow, Madoka. Let's just think about Madoka instead. No, we're not allowed to think about Madoka. We have to think about post-Madoka, which is a dark realm of edgy magical girls that want to make those Madoka bucks, but aren't quite sure how to go about it and don't have Gen Urobuchi to write a cool story for them.
Yeah, I've seen people pose before that Madoka kind of ruined the magical girl genre, and in a way it sort of did. Magical girls as a thing have sort of died off a little bit anyway, and the audience has sort of been transferred to idol shows in general.
Yes, that's what I was going to say mostly.
The magical girl shows that have, come out since then, a good chunk of them are sort of aimed more at adults.
Yeah.
And they're styling themselves off Madoka. The idea of a much darker take on a magical girl show, which is sort of a weird thing to do considering it's been done.
Yeah, there's only so many ways you can go with magical girls but edgy.
Yeah.
And Madoka already kind of did most of them in an actual cool way. So the only, now you just gotta rely on, like, more sexual assault, more, like, other rad things that teen boys think are super edgy.
That's the way that most of the post-Madoka magical girl shows have gone. Like Special Ops Magical Girl Oscar and, say, Magical Girl Side. They are just sort of edgelord nonsense.
Yeah. It's like, let's see how edgy we can get.
Yeah, and there's an audience for that. There's teen boys who just want to see something edgy and cool. Like, both those shows are bad, but they do what they're trying to do. Whereas...
But Yuki Yuna went in a different direction.
Yeah.
Which is, let's fucking do Madoka. None of this, like, trying to hit the same market. None of this borrowing just a few elements from it. Let's just fucking do it, man.
Yeah.
Let's just make a Madoka.
Yeah, it's very, very directly just trying to be Madoka, but not...
But a little sexier.
Yeah. Why am I having so much trouble pronouncing Madoka?
I think because you're trying to do both the Japanese, like, Madoka, but, like, the way that we would say it, which is Madoka. So it's like
I'm a dumb white guy. I'll just say Madoka. I don't know why I'm...
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, fine.
But yeah, so Yuki Yuna is... You can't talk about it without talking about Madoka because it is a post-Madoka show that, like, must have started being produced right after Madoka hit it off.
Yeah.
It's got 4 of the characters are very direct parallels to Madoka characters. And there's just a lot of elements of it that feel like they're really trying to hit those Madoka beats and those Madoka reveals and whatnot, but it's just not quite right. It's just they didn't quite understand exactly the construction of Madoka and why it worked.
No, I think there's sort of two things working on it. On the one hand, the only aspect that it sort of introduces that Madoka didn't have was the sort of moe cutesy girl aspect thing to it.
Yeah, Madoka, I mean, it had some of that, but it was mostly kind of like as part of the bait and switch.
Yeah.
But once things get serious in Madoka, they maintain that level of seriousness pretty evenly.
Yeah.
You don't get to go back to we're being super cutesy.
That's the thing, because that's the other thing that Yuki Yuna is trying to do, is to also, like, play off a slice of life, just cutesy girls doing cutesy things. Almost like K-On!-ish sort of show.
Yeah. Yuki Yuna vacillates very rapidly between Madoka, what a twist, and, oh, but we're being cute now, let's go to the beach.
And it's in a way, it's almost ambitious, because it's such...
We can have it all!
It's such a serious structural problem that is like basically... I think it's probably impossible to overcome. Like, the thing that Madoka did so well was, after Mummy's death, spoilers, this slow, intense building dread and fear that you felt.
Yeah.
Like, for the characters and everything that was happening and how it was unfolding slowly. And you can't do that if you just keep interrupting it with pointless nonsense. And then you can't do a slice of life show. Like, the slice of life type stuff. Like, imagine if you did Kaon, but you knew from the start that there was a meteor coming about to destroy the world. And no one's doing anything about it. Like, you can't also do the slice of life stuff if there's this other thing that just is hanging over the characters' heads. It's no fun. Like, you can't just slip into, like, oh, this is cute, they're all having a nice time, when there's an awful thing happening and you know it's happening.
Yeah, and also half the time they're in the middle of suffering the effects of what's happened in the plot.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's...
But also, aren't they cute? Ooh.
It doesn't seem to understand that by trying to straddle these two things at once, it doesn't work. And it doesn't seem to be aware that it's not working.
I mean, in our opinions, it doesn't work. I
suppose.
If you really are the target demo for this show, I think it works. If you think it's very cute when girls suffer.
That's the thing.
Because I feel like that is what they're going for. Like, if you try to give them the benefit of the doubt that they actually executed on exactly what they wanted to do, it has to be that they wanted to make a moe show where one of the aspects of the moe appeal is that the girls suffer.
I think if we're being honest, that's the creepiest part of this show, is that that's definitely present.
Yeah, and that is like, that's the only way this makes sense structurally.
Yeah. If you are into watching cutesy girls do cutesy things, but at the same time they are suffering, and you could take care of them. They could be your waifu, and you could push them around in their wheelchair and care for them as they suffer.
Oh, now you're just getting into spoilers. I think we're just going to have to start going into episode 1. Let's just jump right in.
All right, so where this show starts, it starts with moe nonsense. They're in a high school, right?
No, they're in... Well, I mean, they're 4 middle school girls, but they're doing a play for some little kids, and it's a stupid little puppet play, and one of them is the hero, and one of them is the evil demon lord, and they're having some goofy talk about, like, I think we should be friends, and the demon lord's like, no, humans don't understand me, and it seems like this is where, if it was Madoka, they would be setting up the central premise of the show, and maybe one of the themes, and what happens is they're having this thing about whether humans can understand the bad guy, and then the thing falls over.
The set falls forward.
And then they're like, our play's ruined. And then she's like, fuck it, hero punch. Or hero kick, and then she punches the other doll with her doll. And then it's just shenanigans, and everyone's like, whoa, this is all so wacky. So it feels like a good metaphor for the show, actually, because it's like, maybe we're going to set something up. I don't know, fuck it.
Think about the specifics of that play as we get to the end. And it's an eerily accurate, accidentally accurate metaphor for the show.
Yeah, but we're introduced to our characters.
Yes, the main characters. So the main character is Yuki. She is Madoka.
No, she's more like Genki, kind of tomboyish than Madoka. So it's like totally different.
I mean, in terms of how these things relate to Madoka.
Yes. Okay, yeah, she is the Madoka.
Yes, she is the one who believes in heroism and being a hero. There is Bamori, who is Homura. She's Madoka, Yuki's best friend.
You gotta call her Togo. Everybody calls her Togo in the show.
That's true, yeah.
For some reason, you're not allowed to use her first name in the show, no matter how good of friends you are.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, but she is Homura, except she's in a wheelchair.
She's in a wheelchair.
Oh.
The wrong wheelchair, by the way.
No, it's the right wheelchair for what they want from the show, which is the kind where you don't push yourself. Someone has to push you around.
Yes.
And almost every time we see her get around, it's one of the other girls has to be pushing her.
Yeah. She's not in the sort of wheelchair where you propel yourself, because they look very different.
Yeah, it's like the hospital kind. And she's been in it for 2 years, so like she should be able to do it herself by now, but that would ruin the entire point of her being someone that you can protect. So, but she has a lot of Homura characteristics, and she has like long dark hair, and she's the one who's like the most gay for the protagonist, and when she's a magical girl she has guns and other aspects.
Almost the exact same color scheme too. Like are sort of like greys
Yeah.
and whites and blacks. Like,
Oh, but hers is a little more blue than purple, so it's different. Because she gets to be a little more blue because the show cut out Sayaka. There's no Sayaka. Instead, there's a little sister Emoto-style character because that's much more moe.
yes, Itsuki,
Yes.
otherwise referred to by us as Ugu.
And like literally her introduction is she loves her big sister. That's her character trait.
That's her entire character trait. Is while the show's falling apart, she's sitting at the computer where she does the tech stuff, going, "Oh no, just flustered."
And her big sister is the mommy character, whose name is Fu. And she's the yellow one. She's the group leader. She thinks that she has all the information from the relevant people in control, but she doesn't.
Yes.
And when she finds out she doesn't, she's going to flip out. And so she's very mommy.
We're not joking when we say this is like obviously a direct rip-off of Madoka. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's so clear all the way they've slotted all these in, except for, like you say, yeah, there's no Sayaka.
Yeah, Sayaka was not moe at all. She has very few moe points, so get her out of here. Get a little sister in there. Ugugu.
The thing is, it's kind of like Sayaka's character in Madoka, though, is the one who embraces the idea of being selfless and becoming a hero without really thinking it through.
Which is the hero's thing this time.
Yeah, that's Yuna.
Yeah, so I guess if you gave this show a theme in relation to Madoka, it would be Sayaka was right all along. Which is interesting. An interesting take.
If Sayaka had just tried a bit harder, it would have all worked out.
Yeah. If she just yelled about how you need to get plenty of sleep and give everyone a good greeting.
Yeah,
And she would have won.
yeah.
So these four girls, because Kyoko's not in the show yet, they have a club that they call the Hero Club. But what the Hero Club does is stuff like this play, and they help find lost cats and other cutesy stuff like that.
Yeah, as an actual club, this club is very strange. You know, clubs are like, they're usually formed around activities or sports. But this is just we do nice things.
Yeah, and I guess it's like, yeah, it's almost like a do good in your community club, which could be nice, I guess, you know? It's still, the way that this show uses the word hero all the time feels very self-aggrandizing. Like, if someone was like, I'm a hero, I'm the hero, this is my hero club where I'm a hero all the time because I'm the hero, I'd be like, fucking get over yourself. Like, do nice things, but not because you think that you're the big shit.
Yeah, like you're picking up trash from the side of a highway. That's great, but you're not a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, they're just we just had school for a while, seeing what school's like, and they fuck about.
Oh yeah, because that's the other thing about this show. Because the way that Madoka had the big, like, marketing mystery and stuff, that it was a dark magical girl show that was revealed later, for some reason this show decided that it was going to hide the fact that it was a magical girl show.
Yeah.
So it spends the first part of the first episode pretending that it's just like slice of life, like, haha, these girls are all gonna be moe and fun. But then it's like, twist, they're magical girls. They all have a special phone messaging app that it drives us nuts.
The Hero Club has its own app, like its own specific messaging app that Fu makes them download when they join.
Yeah, that's not weird at all.
It has the world's worst interface.
Yeah, the UI drives us nuts because I'm sure I'll put a picture on the YouTube version, but it like comes down in this rainbow shape, all the messages. So you'd have to like be constantly craning your head to read them. And obviously it's just supposed to be cute for the show, but I just keep thinking about like, oh, that'd be so fucking annoying.
I hate bad interfaces that are just cutesy in TV, in shows.
You would.
The one that always sticks in my mind is in Looper. Their future phones are just a piece of glass that like things appear on. Like the text will appear on a see-through piece of glass. And it's like, that's so fucking terrible for reading comprehension. Like,
that's such a sci-fi thing.
Yeah, I want a black background to read text on. I don't want to have to be like reading it through, whatever's behind my phone. Stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this is obviously a more cutesy sort of version. But yeah, it's like, yeah, every piece of text is like curved, not from like 90 degrees as you read it, and like has to fit in this one line that comes down from the side. Stupid. Anyway.
But anyways, this app has a special secret feature that they find out about when suddenly they're in the middle of class and her phone starts ringing and time stops. And it's like, oh shit, it's mysterious. And so the only people that time isn't stopped for are the 4 girls that we've met. And then it's wouldn't work in the street like a slave, because a magical rainbow realm like overtakes everything. So I mean, obviously what we immediately would think of is the mazes from Madoka, except it's the same every time, unfortunately.
Yeah, it does stylistically look a little different, but it isn't like a really strong creepy contrast the way it was in Madoka.
It's very calming.
Yeah, it's very calm. Everyone's standing on a big bunch of like ribbons that are all multicolored.
Yeah, it's like watercolor, and I guess they're supposed to look like branches, but they don't really read that way. It's just like these big watercolor swaths, and so everything's kind of like idyllic and watercolor and looks kind of nice. But apparently there's monsters somewhere off screen.
This is the point when they reveal the twist that this is actually a magical girl show. What did that get you? Like, again, in Madoka, when Mummy gets her head bitten off, that's like 3 episodes in, and that's a really big, oh shit, this is way more serious than we were expecting it to be.
Yeah, but in this one it's just like, oh, this is a different genre of moe stuff. Okay.
Yeah, fine. That's fine. This doesn't change anything. It's just, okay, this is happening.
And the monster that shows up, all the monsters in Yuki Yuna, except for the one that's a giant fireball, are these like weird 3D shapes. And there's 12 of them, and they're supposed to be based on the different astrological signs. So there's like a Virgo one and a Cancer one and stuff.
But they don't read that way, like in any, like obviously. Like I didn't pick that up until I read about it in the wiki afterwards.
The first one is Virgo, but it looks like a big gastrointestinal tract, and it like shits out other little enemies that also fly at you.
Yeah, they just poop out a little sphincter at the bottom of these intestines.
Yeah, but I guess that's like a womb or something, because virgin or whatever.
I suppose.
Virgin birth.
Yeah. Something else is worth pointing out. One thing we did see that was a bit incongruous when in the school life is that everyone prays towards a little tree.
Ah, yes, Shinju-sama.
Shinju-sama. Everyone in the society prays to, daily.
Yeah, it's just like a very rote thing. Like they're like, okay, turn towards Shinju-sama, bow, like in the middle of the rest of their stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, what's that? Who's that god that they worship or whatnot?
So
that's a little bit of.
So when Yuki and Togo sort of transported into this root world, they immediately run into Fu and Itsuki. And Fu, being Mummy, explains that she selected them to be, on behalf of this group called the Taisha, to be magical girls. And they are here to help defend their world from these things called the vertexes that are being sent to destroy Shinju-sama, or the tree. Like, the tree is an actual thing, it turns out. They're standing on its roots. And now they have the choice, if they want to be, they can be magical girls and fight and defend.
I don't have much of a choice, because now they're in the fight realm, and if you don't fight, you're gonna die.
She says, yeah, you have a choice. Or but you have still been dragged into the only place where you can really be hurt by it. Anyway, me and my sister are going to go fight the tree. You guys make up your mind. See us. And they transform and run off to fight the big pooping intestine.
Yeah, at first Fu's like, I'm going to do it because I got us into this. I'm the leader. Okay, I'm going to go fight the thing. And then Itsuki's like, no, Nia-chan, I have to help you because you're my big sister. I love you. and then Fu's like, all right, fine, my sister. And then, but they're like, you take Togo, especially because there's a lot of times where they'll really, linger on Togo's legs to remind you, like, don't forget she's in a wheelchair. It's a big, horrible thing that she has to deal with.
See those? They don't work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yuki tries to run off with Togo while Fu and Itsuki go to fight the intestine. And the framing of the action in this show is very strange. It's like, I feel like I don't remember what else the director did, but it feels like they're not really used to action shows. Maybe they're more used to moe stuff.
I think they did Angel Beats and a couple other things.
Yeah, that's definitely more in line with the moe stuff. Because, the bad guys are rarely on screen. You rarely get, a sense of exactly where the bad guys are in relation to the good guys and, exactly how the battle is playing out. Because they're you'll see things shooting at them from off screen, but you're like, oh no, it's coming closer in 10 minutes or something. Yeah,
they just sort of, the monsters just sort of hover towards Shinju-sama.
Yeah, and slow motion, and you rarely get a sense of where Shinju-sama is. How far away is Shinju-sama?
No, I don't think you never really see him. He's just sort of off behind the girl somewhere.
Yeah, you see it very far away, kind of blurred in the distance. That's all you ever see of Shinju-sama. It looks like a kind of shitty little tree in the distance.
And the girl sort of they will just oftentimes they're either up flying in the air or they're on the ground, just kind of shooting at the thing, and it doesn't really have any effect. And half the time, the monsters just sort of ignore them.
Yeah.
And in terms of, if you do have any idea of the scale, it's sort of like they're fighting angels from Evangelion. They feel more like that than like, say, the witches did in Madoka, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just like these big hovering shapes. Yeah, it's like the pyramid. Actually, they turn into the pyramid.
They do. Well, yeah, their cores are a pyramid. If you remember the one, the big cubey thing with the drill from Evangelion.
Yeah. It's like that.
Every monster is like that, except more shapes.
Just extra shapes. Oh, and also when the girls are fighting, they do that idle anime thing where if they're close up, they're in 2D, but anytime they're not close up, they're in 3D. Which, like, I guess if you're not me, it might not bother you. But when I was watching the battles, it was very much like, okay, now I'm gonna do it. Whoa, now I'm in 3D. Okay, like, cut to me being like, oh no, I'm in 3D again. Whoa.
It's noticeable once you notice it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I didn't see.
Yeah, it's not the worst, but
yeah, well, I didn't notice it until you pointed it out. I was like, oh yeah. But I mean, I guess it's sort of like in Madoka, the fighting, the actual like action sequences were never like. They weren't like
if you say they aren't totally bitchin', no, I will fight you. They were awesome.
They were
like
awesome.
The way that different stuff is animated is so cool.
No, it is. No. Like visually, they're really cool.
Yeah.
But I think what makes them additionally cool is that each time you see those fights happening, there's like story stakes involved, and there's something else happening with the characters. Whereas, like in terms of like if you were just watching a show just for like fight animations, they weren't like the most spectacular in the world. It's more that there was a lot of other stuff going on in the story that made those fights cool and the visual look of them.
Yeah. The stakes of a fight usually weren't just like, oh, here's an enemy that attacks this way, and so I have to deal with that.
Yeah. Whereas, like in this, it doesn't look as cool. The monsters are sort of dull, and there's nothing really going on in the story other than you have to beat that or it'll kill us. So.
Or it'll kill a tree.
Yeah, or it'll kill a tree. So the fact that the fights aren't very well choreographed and aren't that interesting is a lot more stark, I think, than it was in Madoka.
Yeah, because it's just like, it feels surprisingly leisurely. Like, it's like, okay, let's go exterminate this thing, this termite that wants to eat our tree.
Yeah, like they always have time to stop and think about what they should do next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they try something, that didn't work. What are we going to do?
Yeah, let's sit around talking about it for a while because the enemies apparently don't even really care that we're here.
Yeah. Not until later, but yes.
But okay, so they don't just like punch the enemies until they die. They have to do a sealing ritual, which is, or sometimes they do.
They have to expose the thing's core, which is like a little pyramid.
Yeah, which they do by like getting around it, and at first they're like, you have to say a special prayer, and then it turns out you don't have to do that, so they just had that for fun.
They set up a lot of things I just sort of forget about.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's almost Ruby-ish in that sense.
There's a lot of surprising parallels with Ruby, but of course I think everything reminds me of Ruby. But so then, you expose the monster's soul by doing the ritual or whatever, and it's always a pyramid, but sometimes they're like different shapes or they do different things. It's kind of like a phase 2, except it's a pyramid. It's like of all the things you could have made it's just a fucking robot pyramid, especially for something that's supposed to be divine in origin. It's just kind of a strange choice, it seems like.
Yeah.
And so they just hit the pyramid and it dies. Oh, but there is the one really cool moment in the show, in the first episode, I think, which is that Yuna transforms piecemeal while yelling, which is really rad.
It is. In this one, she's watching Fu and Suki fight, and, they're struggling, and she thinks, well, I'm a hero, I want to be a hero, I want to do good things, I'm going to take this opportunity.
And it's like, hey,
her transformation sequence is maybe, this is the peak of the show, I think.
Yes.
At the end of episode 1, she has a very cool transformation sequence.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to do it. And so you see her like rush towards the thing and she's just normal, but then like she punches and her hand is glowing and then her hand has like the Maho design. And then she like kicks and her foot has her magical girl boot and then she does a spin kick and then the other boot comes on and it looks rad as hell. It's really good.
Now, bear in mind, of course, she started this transformation by pressing a button in the app.
Yes, the cell phones are very important. They're iPhones.
Yeah, the cell phones, they are iPhones, and they control all of the transformations. That's the source of their power, is a phone.
Yeah, it's really funny. They beat the pyramid, they punch it, and then they win, and then the maze goes away, and everything's okay now. And they protected the city. Everything goes back to normal.
Now, what I like here is that just happened. These girls otherwise thought they were living in a normal world, which is incongruous, but we'll get to that. And Then they go home. And the next day, Fu explains what was going on. She just lets them leave. And then, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah, they're surprisingly complacent through most of this, except for Homura.
Yeah. So Fu explains that she is sort of tasked by and sort of a representative of the Taisha.
Yeah.
Now, who the Taisha are, what they know, and when they know it, are questions that will never satisfactorily be answered.
Yeah, you never see the Taisha except for like some of those mooks from it, but we never really go there. You never really get any idea of why they lie so much, what their true motives are, what their deal is. They're just this convenient thing that exists to lie to you for drama. And to provide cell phones so that you can become magical girls.
The thing is, at first you just think they're liars, and basically they're... Kyubey. Basically, you think they're Kyubey. They're just liars who are using these girls to their own ends. But then the show explicitly states that the Taisha don't know what's going on either.
There's a lot of things they don't know, but there's a lot of things they do know and they lie about for no discernible reason also.
That's the thing. The more you learn about them, they stop being mysterious and just start looking really stupid.
Yeah, their system fucking sucks.
By the end of season 1, the Taisha just make no sense. Like there are a lot of questions about like how do they know anything? When did they know it? Why are they lying? Why did they lie about that? Why have they just told you this?
Yeah, and the answer is don't worry about it.
Why do they exist at all? Like, what was the point of them existing in the first place is like a really good question.
Well, they exist to serve Shinju-sama, theoretically.
Yeah.
They're like the Shinto priests and priestesses of this thing. But the way in which they do that just doesn't really make sense. And it's dumb.
No, we'll get into that.
So they're just like, look, the Taisha, we're representatives of the Taisha. We fight monsters. I chose you because the Taisha said you were all good hero candidates. And sorry. This episode, not a whole lot happens because it's mostly about how Togo thinks that she can't fight because she is in a wheelchair. And then at the end, she decides to fight. And so she's like, I guess I'll fight even though I'm in a wheelchair. And so she hits her phone button. And then the transformation.
Yeah, okay, so here's the thing.
We gotta talk about the transformations now.
Yeah, here's the thing, right? So, you know how we were talking about how it's all a bit moe, and the thing about moe stuff is that it is, like, sexual in the end? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so where they got around it with Yuki's transformation, because we didn't really get the sequence, it was just sort of that cool piecemeal one. When we actually get into the sequences, we discover that every girl has a body part that they focus on explicitly and in detail during the transformations. So
yes, every girl has a charm fetish zone.
Yes.
So first you see Fu transform, and she has like, if I want to be generous, it's like a leotard bottom that's exposed. Basically, Fu has exposed underwear, and so there's like a part in her transformation where it like lingers on it. It's in slow motion. It's like, look at her crotch.
Yeah, Itsuki, because she is the youngest one, and I guess they didn't want to be like completely out and out about this. They gave her armpits.
Yeah, so there's like this very like detailed, lovingly rendered armpit that's like, and her transformation is unbearable because they need to remind you that she's the innocent one and her voice is so cute and sweet and the best. So while the other people during their transformations are like, I'm transforming, she goes,
fucking voice.
Like she's just giggling the entire time. It's like, I know why they did that, but it's so much.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then Yuna's is her butt. So there's a part where, like, I will give them that there's no transformation nudity, so it's, like, not quite as blatant as Nanoha or whatnot.
Yeah.
But, so she's, like, in her normal Seifuku outfit, and then she, like, looks back at you, and then she sticks the butt out, and then just, like, BAM! And then she has, like, the hot pants on.
Magical butt.
But it's just, like, so, yeah, it's like, check out my butt! BAM! Magical butt. And it's ridiculous. And then, so we get to Togo's transformation.
And Togo's is the worst. The absolute worst.
And just in case you were in denial, Togo's transformation is bondage, for one. Like,
yes.
it immediately, like, these, like, ropes come come and like tie around her or like around her floppy boobs and everything,
and around her wrists and like pull her arms out. So because they're hauling her up out of her chair, right? But it's very clearly like a bondage pose.
Yeah,
and then boobs.
And then, so she transforms, and then her boobs are like boing, boing, and they're very big and very like her magical girl outfit is of course very form-hugging, and they all have like a little sigil, and hers is on like the inside of one of her big boobs, so that you can, cut to it as much as possible.
All that was missing was like a timpani sound effect and the camera doing like a zoom in and out as it went. Wow,
wow, wow.
It's really gross.
Yeah, and then from that point on, when she's in the opening, there's this like ridiculous shot where it like zooms out from her crotch.
Oh, that's the other thing. Togo's power ends up being that, like, aside from the fact that her outfit allows her to sort of move around by sort of walking for her.
Yeah, she has like these ribbons that like walk on the ground for her.
Yeah, which okay, but then her thing is that she's a sniper, so she's always like further back somewhere. Shooting at the vertexes from back there, and every time you go back and see her, there's always got to be a shot where you see what she's looking at. But it's not to say a shot over her shoulder; it has to be right behind her. So what we're seeing over her butt. It's an over shoulder shot, but it's an over butt shot. So like she gets both butt and boobs. It's just ugh. I was just watching this with Cuban, going, "Oh, I'm going to get put in a list." Fucking.
I am old and dead inside, and I've seen worse. But it's very like, and every time she shoots, there's that like recoil jiggle and everything.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And what kills me about like her whole idea of her design is like, if she's going to be the snipers anyways, why does she also need the ability to magically run around with the ribbons? Like, at least that could have been a cool aspect of like, she has a way to fight despite not having the use of her legs because she's a sniper.
Despite having more limited mobility than everyone else. It's sort of worth maybe mentioning, we'll talk about this more later, but there were people who thought that Yuki Yuna was going to bring some good rep for paraplegic people.
Yeah.
And I think we've already discussed
why that's not the case.
Yeah, because it aside from the fact that it fetishizes the idea, it is more of someone you can care for, and it gets the wheelchairs wrong and everything. This show has a very specific relationship with ableism that we'll get into more later.
Yeah, she's not just someone who's in a wheelchair for like a normal physical reason.
No,
it's a thing.
It's a thing, and even aside from that, just the way it's been represented here so far is just sort of it's gross.
Yeah, it's like, how can I possibly do anything good despite my disability?
Yeah. I'm useless as a person. Like that's a big part of her character, is that she feels shitty.
Yeah.
And useless. And again, she doesn't overcome that feeling and realize there's plenty she can do. She gets a way to move around.
Yeah.
Like she gets legs, essentially. Like they give her legs back.
Yeah.
When she's transformed. So, yeah.
Oh, but also, twist. 3 enemy shapes showed up this time.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess
so,
that raises the stakes theoretically because there was 3 of the forms.
Yeah. So there was 1 the first time. This time there was 3, but they defeat them.
Yeah, it's fine.
Pretty much as easily.
But she had to help out.
Yeah. It's the end of episode 2. We've had 2 fights and beaten 4 monsters.
Yeah, seems fine. Whatever.
Seems a piece of piss so far.
Yeah.
Now, next episode.
So, start of it. Oh, Kyoko shows up. I mean, Karin.
We come in situ. They're already finding something. Or about to face it.
I'm fine with that. But then it's like, swords come down. And she's like, hey, it's me, the outsider red member from elsewhere. You've heard of that.
The only thing she's not doing is, like, eating snacks and has a little fang. That's about it.
Hey, she does have snacks, though, that are a big part of her moe appeal stuff. Remember, she's got, like, all the protein stuff and like, the fish that she's eating constantly?
Yeah, she eats...
fish.
They're not anchovies. They're, like, little herring or something. Little tiny fish.
Yeah, I forget what they're called.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
She just eats dried those all day. Her breath would be terrible. Anyway.
Yeah, but so her character is that she is tsundere, and she is into sports.
Yes.
So she shows up and she's like, I'm here from the Taisha, but of course she doesn't know anything about the Taisha either, and we never see her before she arrives because the Taisha is always off screen.
Yes.
And she's like, so I'm here and you guys don't even have to worry about anything anymore. I'm going to take care of everything, you chumps. There's exactly 12 vertexes and we've beaten 4 of them. Or I guess 5 now that they fought that 5th one, like, at the beginning of the episode. So that's how it is. It's good. Oh, and also there's a system called Monkai, because it keeps cutting back to their sigils, and they all have 5 petals on them. They're all flowers. And sometimes when they're using their powers, one of them gets filled in. And so what she tells them is that if your Monkai limit gauge fills up, it makes you stronger every time you do it. Now, must be something that the Taisha told her.
Yeah.
Now, why the Taisha would tell her something to encourage her to go Monkai as often as possible makes no goddamn sense whatsoever.
Yes, and we'll find out why. Also, if the Taisha told her, why the Taisha didn't tell Fu is also a question worth raising.
Yeah, because Fu has never heard anything about Monkai.
Yeah. And also, this is the thing. Karin says she was sent by the Taisha to supervise them. Now, in Madoka, I'm going to say this a lot in this episode, in Madoka, like, Kyoko was just in another city.
Yeah, she's from out of town.
And then she heard that Mami died and was like, I can go to where she was. That was a great hunting ground. I'll get tons of seeds. It'll be awesome.
I believe what she says is, my city now.
Your favorite phrase.
My city now. So Karin's like, my city now, except they're all from the same city.
This is the thing, right? She explicitly says there's only 12 vertexes we need to defeat, and so far you've defeated 5. So you guys are the only ones who've been fighting vertexes. Where was Karin the last 2 times we fought things?
Just don't worry about it.
She just didn't turn up for some reason. Like, where else could she have been?
I guess she was Army Reserve.
But she's the most experienced and best fighter of them. This becomes clear.
No, yeah, it's like, why wouldn't they send her first?
Yeah, why did they feel the need to recruit 2 new members on top of Fu and Itsuki when you've got this one over here who can beat them by themselves? That never gets answered. It's just that this is the mid-season Mahu who comes in at the same time that, like, you know, Kyoko did, because we're doing Madoka.
Yeah.
And that's where this show, it does sort of trip itself up by just doing the Madoka beats without really thinking them through. It ends up posing questions accidentally that it never answers, and they start to infuriate you as they build up, because they really do build up, like, unanswerable questions.
But it doesn't matter, because all they want is to get to these moe beats.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because this episode, once Karin introduces herself and like goes through some of the basic exposition stuff, the rest of the episode is dedicated to Tsun Tsun Dede Dede. Oh, she doesn't want to be friends with them, but really she does want to be friends with them, and she's pushing them away. But they remembered her birthday, and she's like, and so that's the rest of that episode.
Yeah, she transfers to their school, but she doesn't want to join the hero club because, you know, that's stupid, and why would you bother doing that? And then they're trying to include her, and she doesn't want to include her. And then they invite her somewhere, and she's sitting there looking at the thing, going, I don't know, I don't want to go. And then she goes home, and they're already in her home. They broke in to give her a surprise birthday.
No, they knock on her door.
Oh, okay, whatever.
But yeah, they like intrude, and they're like, "Hey, we are best friends. Fuck you, and whatever you want. It's your birthday. We're having your birthday now."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, that's what I secretly wanted all along."
Yeah. And they take this awkward photo, which is going to come back.
God, we're only through episode 3. We got to pick up the pace.
Yes. Yeah.
Episode 4 is dedicated to introducing a new character trait for Itsuki, the little sister.
Yes.
Because what's really weird is that Itsuki actually has a hobby that she does, which is tarot card reading, and they cut to it every once in a while as like a gag thing, like, oh, she drew the death card, haha, it's funny. So she already has like a thing that she's into, but they decided that that's not moe enough, so what she needs is a plot about learning to sing.
But she's nervous. She's nervous about singing.
Yeah, she can't sing in front of other people. It's because she gets so nervous. Ooh. But the like shitty singing that she does because she's nervous is so over the top. Like, you know, which is what happens when you're nervous and singing in front of people, but you're actually a really good singer.
She's just so nervous. She's so nervous and shy. Oh.
Yeah, but it shows her singing in the bath, and you know, so that they can show her in the bath, and she can sing so beautifully and good, but it's just not in front of people. It's so hard for her. But then the girls tell her that they're her best friends, and it's good, and they support her, and then she's able to sing in front of the people.
And that's the whole episode.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we also revealed that Fu and Itsuki don't have parents. They were killed by a vertex at some point.
Yes. I mean, I guess during the events of the prequel.
Yeah, like there were other vertexes.
Yeah, so they must know that there's been others before them.
Yeah. Episode 5. That was it.
That's pretty much episode 4 is all set up for. It's very moe that Itsuki likes to sing now, and it sure would be a shame if anything were to happen to it.
Actually, there was one other thing that happened in episode 4, which was that Fu got a message from the Taisha saying there's a real bad thing coming.
So the next time in episode 5, there's like a lot of enemy shapes.
7. All 7
Yes.
remaining vertexes. As far as they know, this is it. This is the rest of them. They're all turning up at once. Which begs the question, why are the vertex turning up piecemeal if they can also turn up in groups?
Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. So there's 7 enemies, and they take down a couple of them, and then the rest of the enemies just combine, which is very, polite of them, so that we don't have to deal with that many, keeping track of that many enemies.
Yeah.
But, they're so strong now that they got tied. They combined. So now the girls have to do their limit break. They have to Monkai.
Yes.
And Monkai does look pretty bitchin', I will say. And I feel like the fact that they decided to go ahead and do 3D for the zoomed out shots is probably because of the way the Monkai looks, and the fact that it does work pretty well for Monkai.
It's sort of like they get mechs in a way, or like exosuits.
Yeah.
Like with the exception of Memori, who gets like a big ship that has like guns on it. Everyone else, they get like a big exosuit that like where Itsuki's thing is that she shoots little ribbons that can tie people up. She gets like this giant backpack thing that shoots hundreds of ribbons. Yuki gets big robo fists.
Yeah, and Fu has I think she has a couple arms with swords, like big mecha arms that kind of float around her.
And they do look cool.
And it looks nice, yeah. And they have these white outfits that are kind of Shinto inspired, and it's harder to see the exposed skin areas, so it looks cooler just looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still there, but it's not as in focus.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's it does look pretty bitchin'. So Fu does it, and Itsuki does it because they come as a pair.
Yeah.
And
Memori does it. Gets a big ship, shoots some stuff. That's pretty cool.
They do the sealing ritual on the big combined enemy, and then its soul pyramid comes out, and it's bigger than the Earth, and it's in space.
Yeah, it's in space. Yeah, it's in the stratosphere.
They look up at the soul, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And it's wow, it is bigger than the world. So they're like, "Well, now what do we fucking do about that?"
I love this idea of raising stakes. Is just what if more? What if more of thing? What if thing big?
You have to remember, this is episode 5.
Episode 5 of, what was it, 12? Yeah, 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very strange because episode 5 acts like a false finale, except it's obviously episode 5, so everyone knows this ain't it, Chief.
Yeah.
But they go to great lengths to act like this is the end of their fight. They're like, how can we possibly? So Togo flies main girl up into space, and main girl goes Monkai, and she dramatically delivers the 5 tenets of the Hero Club, which are do a good greeting, get plenty of sleep, talk to someone if you're in trouble, you can try it if you do it.
You can accomplish anything if you try.
Probably.
It's all just fucking nonsense.
It's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But she, it's a very, typical end of short shonen series, I'm saying the dramatic thing and punching with the power of friendship.
Yeah, yeah.
And so she punches the pyramid to death.
Where Madoka posed a sort of complex question about, what is it to be a hero and to be selfless, and is there any point to having any hope? This is just, if you believe enough, you can do anything, which is just, yeah. If you believe enough and are polite. It's fine by the standards of shonen anime, but it's also bullshit.
But also for the rest of the kind of tonal stuff it tries to do with all the intrigue and whatnot, it doesn't quite mesh.
No, not at all. No.
IMO.
Again, the show is trying to be Madoka, but it doesn't have anything to say.
Yeah.
It's just all it really has to say is just generic. Being a hero is all about belief type fucking nonsense.
Yeah, I'm a hero, and I said it, so now I am, and I did it.
Yeah.
So she punches the pyramid to death, and then she and Togo are falling through space but it's pretty gay because her and Togo are hugging each other on Togo's Monkai ship, and it's going back down through the atmosphere, and Itsuki catches them with her Itsuki ribbons, and it's fine. And then there's that whole dramatic oh, everyone, we're still all alive, everything's gonna be okay.
And also notable, Karin did not go Monkai.
Yes, which becomes a big thing that she's torn up about.
Yeah, she remember, she's the one who knows about it. She's the one who told them about it. She chose not to do it.
They aren't really super clear about the extent to which you can choose to do Monkai, because it happens when your thing fills up. But obviously later, if they had a choice, they wouldn't do it.
Well, I thought it was a choice at this point, because they don't... Spoilers, there's consequences to it. I thought they just did it because they had the thing had filled up and they chose to do it because they didn't think anything bad was going to come of choosing to do it?
I think it's a little bit of, like, whichever one's more dramatically appropriate is the case.
Probably, yeah. Because there are times later on when they're looking at the thing dramatically filling up and going, oh no, it's going to happen. Whereas the way it's presented here is that it's a choice. And if it was a choice, it filling up wouldn't be dramatic. So... Yeah, you're right. It's just inconsistent.
Yeah, it's either way. They have that big, like, super dramatic fake ending, and it's like, okay, so that was episode 5, so now what? And
episode
so
6?
Episode 6.
Yeah.
Episode 6, they're all in the hospital, because, you know, like, they have that big fight, and they were all exhausted and whatnot. And they start to notice that they all have some bod problems, some problems with their bods.
They're told that they're just temporary consequences of, like, fatigue. Fu's lost the use of one eye.
Yeah, so she gets to have a cool eye patch.
Yeah, Fu does have a very cool anime eye patch, that white type with the 4
She gets both types, so that you can buy both types on the figure. Don't even worry about it. She's got the anime hospital type, and then later she's got the pirate type, so your bases are covered.
Yuki has lost the ability to taste things, and worst of all... Itsuki.
Yes.
Itsuki lost her voice.
Sweet, innocent Itsuki and her wonderful voice would be ashamed if something were to happen to it. So yeah, Itsuki can't talk.
Yeah, she has to carry around a pad and pen so she can write down what she wants to say and show it to people.
Yeah, which is very cutesy.
They have a messaging app. They have their own messaging app.
Yeah, which she does use sometimes.
Yeah, it's faster than writing things.
Yeah, and I know it's probably like easier for the camera to see her if she writes it on a paper, but
I mean, yeah, it is very hard to read that stupid fucking app. But anyway, they're assured that this is all just temporary. Just chill. It's going to be all good.
Yeah, and after all, their fight's over, so there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, the rest of the episode's taken up by Karin feeling like she should leave the hero club now because there's no point to her being a hero anymore. Yuki tracks her down and goes, no, we're still friends and we'll still do good things. And they make plans for summer break.
Yeah, and Taisha lies directly to Fu about it being temporary.
Yes.
And they're like, we're looking into it, but it seems like it's just a temporary thing, so don't even worry about it.
We don't know that it's a lie yet, but yes.
So episode 7
but again,
is a beach episode.
Wait, that was the, like you said, episode 5 was the dramatic ending. What was episode 6? What did we just watch? There's no fighting. There's just a bunch of nothing. Like it's almost like it's pretending it's going... This is the point where the show starts to pretend it's going back to being just a regular-ass anime. Like, slice of life thing.
That's the weird thing, because, like, I could understand it if it was just episode 6, but then there's also episode 7.
Yeah.
So it's like you could try to be generous to them and say, like, look, they're building, purposeful dissonance. Like, obviously the girls think it's okay, but obviously as a viewer, it's not okay. And so they're kind of trying to play with that, play with expectations, make you wonder exactly, what's going to happen. But then they do that for this episode, and then they have another episode that's a beach episode.
Yeah, they do a whole ass beach episode. Where
played completely straight.
They don't talk about the ongoing issues of the fact that someone mentions in passing that the issues still haven't cleared up.
Yeah, sometimes it like kind of shows Togo thinking about it, and she's considering the situation. And by this point, they've realized that only Karin, who didn't go Monkai, has that, so it might be related to Monkai.
Yeah, and like you say, the dissonance thing could work for one ep, but this is a straight up and down beach episode.
Yeah, and it's a 12-episode series.
Yeah, you're burning an entire episode. It's like... No, it's clear that the point of this isn't dissonance, because you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't waste a whole episode where you could be doing something else on this. This is just moe nonsense for the sake of looking at a bunch of girls with a disability each doing moe nonsense stuff.
Yeah.
They go surfing, they have a fucking spa scene, they do the thing that like men like to fantasize the girls do, the way they play in the water and all that sort of shit. It's just...
Yeah, it's all the normal, cute, moe, beach episode beats, but also, we have these problems that haven't gone away yet.
Yeah, and it's like, as a viewer, there's something else is coming. On the one hand, it's not fooling us into thinking the show's just gone back to normal. On the other hand, it's not building dissonance, because it's just fucking confusing. Like, I was so confused.
It's like, why? Why are we spending our time in this way?
Watching episode 6 and 7, we were just baffled, because it's like, what are we doing? We're not doing anything. Like, again, this thing with like tone, where the two tones the show is trying to do undermine each other. There are other shows where, like, you have an ongoing plot where the tension ratchets up and down and it goes in waves, and that's fine. But the thing is that only works if either like everything up to this point has been resolved, and clearly that's not the case, or it could work if at least the story is still moving forward in some way.
Yeah.
But these 2 episodes don't move shit at all. It is static until they find out the next thing in episode 8.
There's like maybe 2 minutes worth of moving shit forward, and the rest is just played straight moe nonsense.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It's just frustrating to watch. Like, it's not fun because you can't relax, and it's not moving the plot forward. So I'm just sitting here waiting for this stupid fucking beach episode to end.
Yeah, and it's not like it introduced any more character traits. Like, at least you could say, like, well, the Itsuki episode was important because it introduced, like, a source of conflict because of her voice thing. But this one, it's all just, like, you know what their shticks are by this point. Now we're just having fun, seeing them all do their thing.
It's filler.
Yeah.
It is literal filler. In a 12 episode anime that has a story it's trying to do. Like, that is not why filler exists.
But, what big surprise at the end of episode 7, suddenly Fu goes into the Hero Club room, and it's great because there's a case, and she opens it all dramatically, and their cell phones are in it, because they're special Taisha iPhones. And it's like, what, they're back? And then her fairy shows up again, and she's like, what, it's not over? I can't believe it. But now she has 2 fairies, because it turns out that whenever you go Monkai, you get another fairy. And the fairies, we haven't really talked much about them yet. They're always there.
Yeah, they're just mascots. It's a magical girl show. They have mascots.
Yeah.
They all get their own one. Some of them are cute. Some of them are weird.
Yeah, they're all like different mythological Japanese creatures. So there's like a Kama Itachi one and a whatever the fox one is and stuff.
What's the egg one? What's Togo's egg?
I don't know what the egg one is.
It's just an egg. It looks like a Pokemon, really.
No, it's a Digimon.
Oh, yeah, no,
it's
you're right.
Very specifically a Digimon.
How dare I get those 2 things confused?
It's like so dramatic at first because it's like, oh, what? It's not over. And then Fu puts her hands to her pirate eye patch and she's like, oh, my Shuni senses are tingling or whatever. Like she's all like goofy about it. So it's like, again, with that weird tonal dissonance of like, it's like, oh, we're going to have to risk our lives again. Time to be cute and moe it about it.
Yeah. They continue, like, even within episodes, they facilitate quickly back and forth between... In each episode, even when there are dramatic things happening, there's usually a scene somewhere where we spend 5 minutes with them just being cutesy.
Yeah.
And it's very weird. Again, because you can't relax. We've got a big thing hanging over their heads. We can't relax and enjoy this. It's just weird and annoying.
So, episode 8...
Question, though, about the phones.
Yes.
So Fu told the girls to download the Taisha app onto their phones.
That is what they say.
When they defeated the monsters, they gave them their phones?
I guess they maybe just glossed over the fact that their phones were also from Taisha.
Yeah, like what?
It's like, those phones that you gave us for some reason, you told us to download that app on them.
Well, in that case, just preload the app, you fucking weirdos. Like,
yeah, exactly.
What is, like, they want to do the dramatic thing where they open up the box, like a gun box, and it's got the phones in it, but because the phone is a signifier of something awful, but yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
And also because the phones don't look special at all; they just look like generic iPhones. So it's kind of funny when someone like opens up this case and it's like, oh, the new iPhone. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit.
You're almost expecting like, holy shit, they gave us iPhones. Sick. Like, yeah. But no, it's just
goofs.
It's weird.
So
like,
episode 8 opens.
Oh
God, Phoenix, we gotta get to episode 8. What do you want?
Sorry.
Then episode 8 opens, and they all have new fairies. They're having fun with them. Oh, it's so shenanigans.
Except for Karin.
Yeah, Karin doesn't get a new fairy.
Yeah, Karin doesn't get a new fairy because she didn't Monkai. Yeah.
Fucking loser. And so they're like, so why are we doing this again? We thought we beat all the vertexes. And she's like, I talked to Taisha, and apparently there's like one more left over that we didn't kill so good or something. That seems legit. So they told us that we have to kill this one, and then we're definitely done.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, like, if the Taisha knows that after killing this one they're not definitely done, why would they bother lying about that?
Yeah. Why did they ever set a limit on the number of vertexes? Why not just say
apparently they do think that only 12 can attack every so often.
But the show at the start presents it like sort of like Sailor Moon monsters, where it's just like, there are monsters. There are always the possibility of more monsters. So just every now and again you got to fight a monster. But then they deliberately set a limit, and then they break that limit for no reason.
Yeah, we never find out, like, okay, so why are they suddenly able to make the monsters regenerate faster or whatever? It's just like, it's a twist with no setup. It's
a twist with no setup and no real payoff. I mean, I suppose you could say that for a bit they thought they were done, but we didn't think they were done. We obviously knew they weren't done. It was the 5th episode of 12. We know they're not fucking done.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a silly nonsense payoff. Anyway.
So they fight this supposed one more enemy, and they recognize it as like another enemy type that they'd seen before. So they're like, "That's weird, but whatever, seems fine. We won't be suspicious of that, I guess."
No.
But when they try to teleport back, we get to meet a new important character.
Sonoko.
So Sonoko, only Yuna and Togo, so Madoka and Homura, get to meet her. She teleports them to where she is when they come out of the maze area. And she's a girl who's in a bed. She's got like bandages over most of her, which there's no reason she needs bandages.
Yeah, she's just entirely bandaged except for like one eye in her mouth.
I think this is the closest we ever get to actually seeing the Taisha building, but we still don't. She's just off on like kind of like the waterfront somewhere, and her bed's just outside.
She's watching the sunset in a hospital bed outdoors.
So she's very like, I talk very dramatically and mysteriously about everything, and so the fairy system and the Monkai, every time you go Monkai, then when a flower blooms, it also wilts. So you have to give up one of your body parts to the magical tree as like an offering, because we're offerings, really.
Yeah.
And so she reveals that the reason that she's all fucked up is because she's gone Monkai like 20 times. And so she lost like her, like presumably like an eye each time, and then like one a year, the other year.
Very little
Except
works
she can
anymore.
see, hear, and speak.
Yes.
So really she got off kind of lucky in some ways.
So this was the bit of Yuki Yuna that if you're describing it to people or trying to pitch it, this is the mind-blowing part. It's a show about magical girls, but when they power up, they get a random disability.
Yes, you roll the disability gotcha, and you get a random disability, and you get a new one each time, and it sticks. So that's the dramatic thing. You get a randomized disability.
Now, again, this is what it was when I was saying how we were going to get to the other part of this show that's more ableist. Again, people thinking this was going to be good rep got a rude shock when they found out that having a disability is treated like the most horrifying thing that could possibly happen to you.
Yeah.
Because that's how it's treated. That's how it's treated. That this is a horrible, tragic fate, and that if they're going to have to keep fighting and going Monkai, that eventually they'll end up like her, is basically the thing.
Which is, like, it does suck. Like, it is shitty.
It's not positive, but it's treated like a fate worse than death, being disabled.
Yeah, and especially, like, the way that they react to finding out that it's permanent, and specifically Itsuki's not being able to talk. They react to it the way that they react in Madoka to finding out that they're just fucking batteries and undead.
Yeah, finding out that they're now corpses. Like,
yeah.
The other thing she drops, that it's a question I guess they asked at some point when they were writing this. It's like, okay, well, surely so much of your body can't shut down and you wouldn't just die.
She just drops it apropos of nothing. She says, we give up something every time we go Monkai, but in exchange, heroes never die.
Yeah.
And Togo's like, we won't ever die. And Yuna's like, oh, but then that's good, right? If we don't have to die?
Yeah.
Which, as a response to finding out suddenly that you were mortal, is very fucking strange. They just accept it immediately. They're just like, oh, that's weird. Okay, well, I mean, whatever. It's not as big of a deal as Itsuki not being able to become a singing star, but, it's pretty big deal, I guess. One of the things that you can lose is your memory.
Yeah.
Because it turns out that Sonoko remembers her, and she calls her by a different name. And Togo has this ribbon from a friend that she can't remember, like, exactly where she got it from. Even Togo seems to put it together in the scene, but she doesn't, like... The way that it's done is... This whole scene, the writing is very strange, and the way that people react to revelations.
It's very hard to follow.
Yeah.
Apart from the disability thing, it's extremely hard to follow what they're talking about and what she's saying, particularly the immortality thing, because it just comes and goes.
Yeah, they introduce it like it's something that they're already familiar with, almost.
Yeah.
And then Togo, when she's called by the different name, Sonoko's just like, oh, don't worry about it, it's a different friend that I used to have, sometimes I think about her, I just randomly say her name. And then by the end of the scene, Togo just suddenly comes up to her and, like shows her ribbon like she knows that it's related, and she's like, I'm so sorry, I can't remember. And it's just very like, okay, I guess you figured out while you were talking about the fact that you can't die that you must be best friends or something.
Yeah. What she puts together as well is that her paraplegia is a result of, I guess, her going Monkai at some point earlier in...
I don't think she figures that out yet. It isn't really clear when she understands that that's why that happened until it gets undone.
Yeah, until
Oops, spoilers.
yeah, spoilers.
But it does do that thing where the camera lingers on her legs when she's talking about Sange. So I guess like it is like trusting you to figure out, oh, maybe those two things are related. Maybe she didn't lose her leggies in a tragic accident.
Because that's what she thought. That's what she was told. But she doesn't remember the accident. But what you figure out here is that at some point in the past, Togo was fighting vertexes with this girl.
So they go to tell Fu.
That's the end of episode 8. Episode 9, they go and tell Fu, and they decide not to tell Itsuki or Karin yet until I know more.
Yeah, Fu's like, until we're like super sure, because maybe that bitch is just full of it, or whatever. So we'll
bitch
telling me that my girl's voice won't come back. Shut up. I'm sure she's crazy.
That was the other thing, is that the Taisha, after they're done talking to Sonoko, or at some point during the conversation with Sonoko, the Taisha turn up, or all these people in masks, and just sort of, I guess they're going to take Sonoko away to where the bed normally goes.
Yeah. They're like, oh, you left in your magical bed again, I guess.
But I can only assume that the Taisha deliberately set this meeting in motion, because otherwise how did it happen?
Obviously there's a place her bed normally goes, and they show up and they want to separate them, so they don't want them to talk to each other.
Yeah.
So she, for some reason, just has like the power to magically summon them for plot convenience, I guess.
Is that what they said?
Yeah, because she said like that she called them, and that's why they teleported back to her instead, to her save point.
At no other point do the girls accidentally transport back to somewhere they didn't want to be. They all transport together as a group.
So it's just like, it's an extra power that she has because, convenient.
Yeah, because plot convenience. We needed them to have a conversation. There's no suddenly in a shocking, twisty sort of way. But sure, whatever. Who cares? Move on.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So Fu's like, I don't know. Maybe she's wrong. Maybe the stuff will go away or whatever.
Yeah.
Shut up. A lot of this episode is centered around her thinking about Itsuki and how important their sister relationship is, and how horrible it would be if Itsuki couldn't make a sings.
Itsuki's homeroom teacher talks to Fu and says that she's been really upset and suffering because she can't sing anymore.
Or it seems more like she's like, we're just inconveniencing the class. She's like, when's she gonna get better, huh? Like, we've been trying to rearrange our stuff for it, but like, what's up with her voice, huh?
Yeah. Like, it's a big inconvenience this person can't join in on the singing somehow.
Memories of silent voice. And so, but,
We've got to talk about silent voice at some point.
let's go ahead and cut to Togo.
Togo's here to tell us she's discovered something.
She's discovered that it's impossible to kill yourself, that the fairies won't let you, and she's super sure about it because she's tried to kill herself like 24 times. First she tried to eviscerate herself. She tried to hang herself. She tried to poison herself. She tried to, get in a car and die. She has tried all these ways to commit suicide.
Fire, poison, guns, everything she could possibly try. She has spent the day trying to end her life as earnestly as she possibly can.
And so the lesson they learn from that is, so Sonoko is probably telling the truth, and they can't die, and, oh my god, Itsuki won't be able to sing anymore! Oh my god! Oh no, Itsuki and her singing career! Oh no!
So this is the sequence of events. Their friend has told them, hi, I spent the day trying to kill myself. Fu runs off because she's mad about her sister.
Yes.
And the rest of the episode is them dealing with Fu's grief, except for one character. Who's the one character we don't see dealing with helping Fu with her grief?
For some reason, she's all hung up about something else. But don't worry about her. Fuck her. Just because she tried to kill herself 20 times, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Fu goes home. She's all worried about Itsuki. And then she gets a call. And it's from a talent agency. And she didn't even know Itsuki had wanted to be an idol. She'd auditioned to be a singing idol. And then she goes to... and she's like, no! And she goes to her computer and she listens to the audition tape where Itsuki's like, I just love my big sister so much that I want to sing, and singing is the most important thing to me now because I love my big sister so much. And she's like, nah. So it's like the most the irony, the twist.
It's proper anime girl horror, sobbing, screaming sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's so goofy because Itsuki Why didn't they just have her always want to be a singer if they were going to hinge this entire dramatic plot point around it? Itsuki had no interest in doing this until, like, I guess in canon it was like a month ago, because she couldn't even sing in front of people.
Yeah.
And so now that's the most important thing in the world, that she cannot do this. Her dream. Her dream.
I mean, if we're being generous, it's more that, like, Fu has expressed before that she feels guilty for dragging Itsuki into it in the first place. And this is all just... It's not so much that Itsuki can't sing, it's that she now has this disability and Fu feels like it's her fault.
But it's all framed around having to show all the talent agency shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goofy thing. Like, it's that it's framed... The most awful thing in the world is the idea that you're mute. Also, our friend tried to kill themselves 12 times, so we're not really dealing with that at all. That just happened. That was in that scene just there. No, but we're not talking about that.
Yeah, so Fu listens to the audition tape, and now she's real mad, and now she's gonna go kill the Taisha, or whatever. She's gonna destroy the Taisha, so she transforms.
Which would be an issue, because we've never seen the Taisha headquarters or know what it looks like, but don't worry, she doesn't get there. So that's not a problem.
So she's flying through the sky in her Maho form, and Karin sees her, and of course Karin has no idea about anything that's going on right now, and so she's like, whoa, why is she transformed? So she immediately transforms and throws all her swords at her, and like starts fighting her.
To get her attention.
Like, again, it's one of those things that would make sense, like, in Madoka, because, like, Kyoko and Sayaka fought, over their ideals or whatever, that made sense.
Eventually the Homura Mami fight in the Rebellion. These two have a reason for fighting.
Yeah, and they were willing to kill each other, at least in the, ostensibly.
Yeah.
For, like, very clear-cut reasons. But Karin attacking Togo when she doesn't know anything about the situation other than Togo is running.
Yeah.
And so her solution is to throw her swords at her.
And he's like, hey, there's my friend. Pulls out a gun. Like,
Yes!
She just tried to kill her friend for no reason other than, she was running. Oh, she's out for a jog.
Yeah. And so, they're, like, crossing swords, and Togo's like, the Taisha lied to us! And Karin's like, what? And she's like, I need to go kill him! And Karin's like, what's happening?
That genuinely is the conversation. Like, it's the big dramatic fight over our ideals, but Karen's ideal is... Can you stop and explain what's going on for a second?
Yeah, I haven't been here for any of this part of the plot.
Yeah. And it's not, like, the worst thing is, as fights go, it's probably one of the better ones in the show, but it's just it's so, like...
It's happening for no reason.
It's happening for it's happening for a terrible reason. Like, that's, ugh. But anyway, she gets Fu on the ground, and then... Well,
first Yuna blocks Fu's attack. Like, Yuna shows up, and it's all dramatic because Yuna blocks her attack, and that makes one of her Monkai thingies fill up. And Fu's like, why would you do this? And Yuna's like, we still would have chosen to fight even if we knew that we would have had these horrible disabilities. And Fu's like, shut up, there's no way anyone would. And then little sister comes and hugs her from behind and, gives her a dramatic note that's like,
I'm just so happy to be here with you, my big sister, who I love so much.
Yeah, she actually says, like, I never would have had this dream if not for the Hero Club, which is true, but it's also pointing out how poorly established her motivation was, or like how quickly established and overdrawn.
Fu breaks out into more overly dramatic anime sobbing.
And then they just all have a big old cry and credits roll.
Yeah.
And after credits, there's another dramatic montage that shows Itsuki being pure and loving singing, just to really try to drive home what a horrible thing it is that she can't pursue that now.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so this is the thing. The show is basically set up just to make these girls suffer, really. Mm-hmm. And, like, suffering and pain was a big part of Madoka, but there was a point to it. Like, there was a theme they were exploring. There was apart from it just being an interesting plot that was unfolding and twisting and turning, there was, like, a reason we were making them suffer. Like, a reason they were struggling with a really hard decision.
And it's also, they came up with in-universe reasons why, like, even if you say, like, Madoka, I know some people think it's misery porn or whatnot, but at least in-universe there are reasons for this system that they explain, and they suffer as a result of things that are explained in the context of the story.
Yeah.
But here, the only real explanation for the way a lot of these events go down is the girls must suffer.
Yeah. In Madoka, like... Sayaka's whole thing is that she made a rash decision and had a flawed idea of what it was going to be like.
And she couldn't admit her real motives to herself.
Yeah, and it was only after she went through what she went through that she realized how she actually felt. Like, everyone sort of comes a cropper of their own choices and actions, and they all have consequences, and they all suffer as a result of those because of the system that's imposed on them. And they all, to some extent, understand that there is a reason why the system is necessary, so it doesn't make it easy to just throw it off.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, nothing really happens as a result of their choices. It's just, they suffer now, and it's bad. And if they need them to suffer more, they just twist again. They just add, like, oh, here's something else you didn't know, and now you got to suffer some more. And it's just, the entire thing is just constructed to make them feel bad, so we can watch them feel bad. And there's no point to it. Because that's the other thing. Like, thematically, there's nothing going on in Yuki Yuna, really.
I guess you could say it has the same basic idea as, like, Madoka's character arc, which is that, it's like, let's just see how shitty we can make it, but the hero will be so brave that they'll still get through it. Yeah,
like, Madoka's thing is that, like, she's given this choice, and as the show goes on, the choice becomes more and more stark, and, like, she's more and more compelled to do it, but it's a more and more horrifying choice to make. And the eventual conclusion she comes to is that I can still do a lot of good with this. There's still a way for me to do good with this and to give other people hope.
Yeah, you have to sacrifice something great, whereas Yuna doesn't have to sacrifice anything by the end.
No. Well, they, as far as we know now, they are sacrificing something, but it's like...
Well, and they didn't choose to sacrifice it at the time.
No, they didn't make that choice. It wasn't a noble choice they made. They just thought, oh, let's be heroes.
Yeah, and that's also how they're going to win in the end, is they're going to let's be heroes.
Yeah. I've seen people in reviews, or people defending this show, going, oh, it really explores the themes of heroism. No, it doesn't.
No,
it doesn't. It doesn't talk about heroism.
I mean, the theme is it's good to be a hero.
yeah, it's good to do good things. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what an interesting statement. Like, it doesn't talk about what it costs or, like, what it, in any realistic way, because the actual scenario is just so fucking contrived. Like, Yuki is eventually just kind of a Jesus-y type character who just continues to do good because she's the hero and she does good. Like, I
would say she isn't very Jesus-y because Jesus was self-sacrificing.
Also true. I mean, maybe sort of Jesus-y in the same way that what's her name from A Silent Voice is Jesus-y, and that she just continues to turn the other cheek and do good and be good.
We have to put our dunking of A Silent Voice in its own place.
Yeah, I know, but they line up in this specific sense in terms of just this isn't. She stops being a human. This isn't a human person. This isn't like a relatable character. She's just a.
Yeah.
I will do good because I'm going to because I'm the protagonist. Like, it's.
What is it, Pollyann? The TV shows where it's just like they're so positive, and it's just like, be a fucking human though. Anyways, episode 10. Now, if you've seen episode 10 of Madoka, you'll remember that episode 10 was a very important episode because it's when we recontextualize things by showing the flashback of Homura and how we got here and all the important revelations that are contained within. So, let's do that. We'll have a flashback of Togo, and we'll see all the important things that got us here. So we have Togo meeting Yuna, like how it was important, like when Homura met Madoka and why Madoka was so important to her. So Togo moves in, and then Yuna says, "Hi, I'm Yuna. Let's be friends." And Togo's like, "Oh!" And they show them forming the Hero Club, and it's fucking stupid.
What's funny is that, like, because you're thinking that this is Madoka, is there going to be like some sort of time looping, time travel involved? And no, there isn't. So what we're seeing is stuff that, it did happen in the past, but it's all happened in the one timeline. And
it's also like stuff that you could have assumed happened, because they show you her killing herself the first time with the seppuku, like, like trying to do the whole, like, tanto through your stomach. And it's very gratuitous, it's like she takes her top off and everything, and she's like, really, she's gonna do it, and she's so scared to do it. So it's like, we already knew this happens.
Yeah. Like, this isn't recontextualizing anything. You're just showing us in more detail the awful thing that every other character so far have failed to deal with, despite the fact they're just such good friends.
Yeah.
She does the sensible thing and goes and talks to Sonoko again and asks for more information.
Yeah, and then Sonoko explains her backstory.
Yeah.
So it's like all the flashback stuff did nothing to explain any of her backstory, because in the end she just goes and asks the bed girl. Yeah, so Sonoko makes it clear they were part of a team. She went Monkai twice, or Togo did, and that's why she lost her memory specifically of the time during which they were a team. and her leggies.
Yes.
And Sonoko's like, you should see what it's like outside the barrier because no one knows.
Yeah, Sonoko goes on to explain the situation of the world. Now, again, in Madoka, what was great about episode 10 was that you finally understood the entire situation. Like
Yes.
It finally answered all the questions you were wondering and set us up for the last 2 episodes where everyone comes together and there's the big final conflict and da-da-da-da. Yuki Yuna's episode 10 just makes you...
They've got to explain shit.
So fucking confused about what the hell is going on. It's very like season 6, episode 3 of Ruby, actually, in that sense.
Yes. It's like, here's more information that makes the whole show make less sense.
Yeah, so the basic rundown is that at some point in the past, the gods of Earth decided they were jack of humans and they wanted to cleanse the world of all humanity and all humans.
Wait, was that just an Australianism? They were jack of humans?
Yeah, they're like sick of them.
Interesting. But it's a heaven gods.
Yes.
But I noticed, I feel like in the first season they don't distinguish between earth gods and heaven gods, so that must be like some supplementary material thing. They just say some gods wanted to kill all humans and some gods didn't.
There are gods. There's gods. They didn't like humans. Except for one god, Shinju-sama.
No, some of them. Remember, they combined to form Shinju-sama.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, Shinju-sama is multiple gods, like all in one tree, which makes the later thing really funny.
Shinju-sama is a Voltron.
Yes.
Shinju-sama couldn't face all of the gods, couldn't defend the entire world, and couldn't face all of the other gods on its own. So it just sectioned off Shikoku.
Yeah, the one Japanese island.
The one Japanese island, one of the main 4 islands. It put a barrier up around Shinkoku, and everything else now is just a fire wasteland.
Yes, Togo passes through the illusory barrier, and it's just fire hell. It's just monsters everywhere, everyone's dead, which, like, it just hasn't come up. I had to rewatch those first episodes just to make sure I wasn't misremembering the fact that, like, nobody ever asks, like, why aren't there any other countries that we ever communicate with? Because, like, Togo, part of her, and it's played up more later, but she's a hyper-nationalist, which is weird as, like, a Moe character trait.
Yes, yeah.
But there's no Japan anymore. There's only Shikoku. So, like, there's no Tokyo. There's no other countries that Japan would have any kind of international relations with. But no one's just thought about it.
No one's thinking about it. No one's asking about it. Everyone's, like... Togo is surprised, to say the least. Like,
yeah, she freaks out.
One of the main things you see it in the opening every episode is there's a bridge that takes you off the island to the mainland. Except the bridge was blown up, and no one's asking why didn't we fix that bridge? Where did that bridge go?
Yeah, and they never make it, like... they never, like, imply that for some reason they can't because of the power of Shinju-sama or anything. It's just... No one cares. No one gives a shit about
it's just never explained or never even touched on. Like, it could have been one of those things where you said, like, oh, it's part of his powers. No one really thinks about it. It's kind of an illusory thing. They just assume the other countries are there, but no one ever leaves the island. Or if they go to, they... turn around for some reason. No, they just do not address it at all. The fact that the rest of the world is gone and no one's noticed as far as we can tell.
Yeah, it just hasn't occurred to them to wonder.
That's the other thing though. What you can see in the world, like not in like the outside barrier or world or the magical root world. In the regular ass world where all the humans live, there is actually like a big physical wall barrier around the island. Like the water goes out for a while, and then there's just this barrier. There's just this big ass barrier.
Yeah, there's like this big like. It looks like when your ramen before you cook it, and so it's just like in a big shape, you know,
yeah,
all tangled up.
There's just big ramen stacked all around the island.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like the tree roots, but also the barrier is also like a dome that like illusions everything. But also sometimes you just have to break through the roots part. That's like a wall that only goes up a few feet.
Also, they went to space.
Yes.
Where is space? Where was space? Because they went to space and they didn't see this outside world.
Yeah.
So what was that?
What the fuck? Like I know, like when you're in Rootland, you're in like a different dimension, but that's clearly the same dimension that you see the hell monsters in because they coexist.
Because Togo, like later on, goes back and forth between the root dimension and the hell world. So the root dimension is like still has a barrier from the outside world. It's
How did they not see the hell world from space?
It's just
Were
maddening.
they just distracted?
It's so frustrating. Like because again it runs through all this stuff. Like, oh yeah, this all makes sense. And you're just watching and going, no, but hang on, wait, no. Like, it's... Like, this isn't even like... I know that, like, QB do this a bit and I do this a bit too, where, like, you can be distracted nitpicking at a show when the show's not good, particularly. Like, you think incongruous things start to catch you more.
Yeah.
And you sort of get obsessed with little details. This is not a little detail.
No, this is, like, the central source of the conflict of the show.
Yeah. And it doesn't make any fucking sense. The other thing that Togo sees while she's out there's all these little monsters that are, like... They're sort of like eggs with mouths, kind of.
Yeah, little teethy boys.
And they all combine to rebuild vertexes. And that's what they're doing right now. They're very slowly rebuilding all of the vertexes. All the ones they've defeated so far, they're all being rebuilt.
Yeah, and I guess for some reason they've gotten faster about it.
Yeah, because they're all almost done.
Why have they been able to make them quicker?
Yeah. Like, Sonoko implied before that, like, there was like a 2-year gap between last time we pushed all the vertexes back, and then there was like nothing happened for 2 years, and then you had to fight them again.
Yeah, and obviously the Taisha at first didn't think that there would be more so soon. So why? Why are they suddenly able to make them quicker?
Yeah, why they would make them quicker? Why are they almost done? We know the reason. It's because now Togo's thinking about how they're going to have to fight them all again, and they're going to have to go Monkai again and get more disabilities.
Yeah, so it's just drama.
It's just drama.
The gods are very dedicated to creating the correct amount of tension.
Even if it doesn't flow. And this time, as would have made sense last time, they're going to be able to attack all at once. Like, again, why? Why didn't they do that last time?
So Togo, upon seeing all this, is like, fuck this. I'm just going to kill everybody.
Yep.
So she's like, I'm going to break a big hole in the barrier, and we'll let Shinju-sama die, and everyone will die, and that'll be better than us having to become disabled in this way.
Yeah, this is her choice. She's so busted up about the idea of her friends fighting and suffering and becoming disabled that the better choice is everybody dies.
Yeah.
Every single person dies, including her friends.
Yeah.
Again, the deaths of them and everyone else, all surviving humans, is a better fate than being disabled.
Yes.
Bad rep.
Of course. Yeah, it's like, and I can understand, you know, like, obviously this is the wrong choice for her to have made. She shouldn't, hey, themes of the show, it's bad to want to kill everyone. That's not the correct answer. That's an important thing that we've decided to tell you.
Yeah, killing everyone is bad. It's not very hero-y. But it's fucking, like, it actually is like an understandable like response to what she's being presented with, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, it's basically just a tantrum.
Yeah, in terms of the way the show has set up this information, that it's like, yeah, well, fucking, of course he'd be pissed. Of course he'd want to put an end to this nonsense. But
yeah, I feel like it would be a little more sympathetic if, like, maybe she just wasn't thinking about the fact that everyone wouldn't be able to survive anymore if she killed Shinji-sama. Like, if she was just so focused on, we have to destroy Shinji-sama.
Yeah, if she was just trying to find a way for her friends to not suffer.
Yeah, and this tree is what did it, goddammit.
Yeah, and their thing was, we're okay with the suffering because we're heroes and da-da-da-da. That would have been okay. But she's very consciously making the choice to end all life. So they don't have to suffer. But anyway. So she blasts a big hole in the barrier. And
yes. And it's like, meow, meow.
Now, again, this has happened because on the day where she tried to kill herself multiple times, none of her friends have even wondered where she is. When this happens, when they all discover, like, when they all get an alert saying the barriers are broken, there's monsters coming in, they're like, what the fuck? How did this happen? And they look over and there's Togo. It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we were so worried about the idol thing. Ah, fuck.
Oh, yeah, she tried to kill herself a lot, didn't she? Fuck.
Yeah, like a super large amount of times. Like, so many times.
More times than the average person who tries to kill themselves. It's quite an achievement, really.
No, yeah, it's like, she obviously knew by that point. You'd think by, like, the third time she'd get the idea, but she kept on going.
Yeah, she really, really wanted to end her life.
Yeah, so they're like, oops. So all the girls show up and they're like, what are you doing? It's bad. And she's like, look outside. And they're like, whoa, shit sure sucks out here. But hey, you can't kill everybody. And she's like, nah, I'm going to kill everybody.
So they got to fight.
They
got to fight.
So now we got to fight. Fight your friends.
This is like the next 2 episodes are just this fight. Surprisingly, not like a lot of twists and turns to it. I didn't think. Like it's just sort of.
There's a lot of like stuff moving around in ways that, again, the way that action works in this show is very strange, and the stakes of what's happening are hard to understand. Because especially the girls we know cannot be injured or die. So the only risk from them being attacked is that apparently them being attacked makes them go Monkai faster.
Yeah. Now Monkai is definitely a thing that just happens when you get attacked.
Yeah, you don't have a choice to go Monkai.
But again, like there's this thing of like in terms of the battle, the first thing that happens is a whole bunch of the little Teethy boys flood in. Yes. But they go back and forth between sometimes they're attacking the girls and sometimes they're ignoring the girls and sometimes they're rebuilding the vertexes. They're just sort of.
Yeah, it's like not clear like what kind of active threat the Teethy boys pose exactly, and sometimes Togo is shooting at them, which I don't know why she would.
Yeah, like she will later when she turns back to being a good guy. But
I could have sworn she was before.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Who knows? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but anyway, so Yuna's.
Uni.
I always call her Uni. Yuki.
You gotta go to uni.
Going to uni, mate. Yuki, at this point, feels really bad that she forgot about her best friend and all of her suicide attempts, and now can't transform. Now,
yeah, like she's so sad because of all these revelations and the fact that Toga wants to kill everyone. Like, so her and Karin get like hit, like smacked off into, the timeout zone, and
just somewhere else in this giant world that for some reason this bit isn't being attacked.
Yeah,
but who knows where that
screen.
is? Yeah. But the thing is that like their mental state has never been a requirement.
They implied it was, but we never had a moment before where it was actually a problem. Because like Togo never, back when she was too unsure to transform, she just never hit the button. It was never like, oh, she hit the button, but she's not confident enough yet to do it. So it's just like, like now this is a problem because it's convenient now for it to be a dramatic problem.
Yeah, that she's here and she doesn't know, she can't transform and she wants to transform and she can't work out her feelings and she's confused. Again, Madoka. Like it recognized.
That one's fair enough to not be Madoka.
Again, it's the thing of they recognize this beat.
That like laying there, should I even try anymore? Kind of.
You could have at least set up that like the mental state was key to being like her feeling like she was a hero or whatever was like key to this.
I think it was mentioned before, but again, like it wasn't actually an active thing that they had to think about ever before.
Yeah, she's never had to struggle with it before. None of the other characters have struggled with it.
Yeah, again, it's not like she was like pushing the button like transform, why can't I? She just, the moment that she actually tried to transform, then she could. It's fine.
Shouldn't Fu have had this problem? When she was running off to fight the Taisha?
Yeah.
When she was mad about the whole system? She shouldn't have been able to transform at that point. Like, that's just, yeah. No. The way most of this goes is that Fu and Itsuki are off fighting Togo, while Karin and Yuki are sort of just having a chat.
Yeah, Karin's like talks to her about friendship and she's, like tells her the lesson that she's learned from their magical friendship. And then Karin gets her big dramatic last stand kind of thing, which is kind of cool.
It would be cool if she wasn't screaming the tenants from the Hero Club and getting disability after disability because she was doing it.
Yeah, so Karin's big dramatic fight is that she speed stacks disabilities. So she's like fighting and she goes Monkai against, I don't know, just some of the enemies, there's, there's just a lot of enemies around, so it's like, why are these the ones that she has to kill? And
again, it's the thing of all the Vertex are here, and the Teethy boys.
Yeah, so there's like so many enemies around, but she's going to dramatically kill some of them.
Yeah.
That happen to be on screen at the moment.
Yeah.
So, she's like, goes Monkai and she's like, first rule of Hero Club, don't talk about Hero Club. It's like, greets, give everyone a good greeting.
Yeah.
And then she like uses up her Monkai, and then like you see that she got a new disability, and then she's like, second rule of Hero Club, and then she goes Monkai again. It's like, eat plenty of food.
Yeah.
And it's like, the way that it's animated is actually cool, because her Monkai does look very cool. She has 4 arms that all have swords.
Yeah.
There's this nice, like, kinetic aspect to it, where, especially because when she loses one of her leggies, she's, like, falling through the sky, and then she, like, transforms mid-fall and does the Monkai again, and it looks and feels cool. but everything that's happening is just so goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then by the end, so she's lying on the ground now, and she's gone Monkai like 5 times or something, and she can't see or hear. So Yuna gets to her, and she's like, Karin, and Karin says like some dramatic bullshit, while she like can't see or hear. She's like, didn't I do such a good job?
Is that you, Yuki? I can't tell who's holding me.
I'm just so, and it's a friendship, and you have to do it. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so Yuna's like, okay.
I would have loved if she accidentally gave that speech to an egg boy. She's just been cradled by an eggy.
Tiki boys. Yeah, and they're just listening like, ngang, 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 ngang.
And she can't tell it because she's lost all use to the left side of her body. They're just eating her leg, and she's going, "Oh, it's a friend."
Togo's tried to attack the tree herself, but she can't harm it. So she's like, I'm going to bring this thing, and it's a big combined monster that basically works out to just being a giant fireball.
Yes.
And it's just like, of all the final bosses, it's just a fireball.
It's a big fireball. It's a spirit bomb. It's just a big fireball.
I guess it's supposed to be like, it's the power of the sun or something. But like, as a thing to fight, it's just it's a circle. Yeah,
it's a big circle. And then just as Togo's, luring it towards the tree and it's finally on target, who knows what they were doing before.
Yeah, Yuna comes in and she punches her.
Because she's here to protect her.
Yeah, and she's like, stupid, I love you, I'm going to protect you and everyone, and I promise I won't forget. Oh yeah, because then it becomes like Togo's big issue was the fact that she forgot her friend, and she's worried that they'll forget each other, which wasn't really what she was talking about.
No, like she's really concerned that she's going to be forgotten.
Yeah.
And that she'll lose memories again, which I guess... Again, being generous to the show, you could say that like once you know that there are holes in your memory and things you don't remember, that could make you very afraid of that happening to you again.
Yeah, but she doesn't say like, I don't want to forget everyone again. That's my big fear. She's like, we shouldn't have to sacrifice ourselves to this thing and stuff. So then when Yuki's like, everything's gonna be okay, I won't forget you, it feels like you misinterpreted what her concern was. She was worried about the fact that you guys are going to have to like be in bed for the rest of your lives after some unspecified amount of time.
In the last episode, though, doesn't she say something about she's worried about being forgotten?
It probably does come up, but I'm saying like she also talks about a lot of problems.
Yeah, she does. And when Yuki said that, Togo hadn't brought that up yet, so it's just they just forgot the order they've done everything in.
Yeah. So Togo's like, oh, fine, I guess with the power of friendship. Oh, but what have I done? Everyone's going to die now. So they're like, oh, but how can we stop this giant fireball? Yuna runs out of her Monkai, and that's when she loses her leggies, and she, like, falls.
Now, she's got no legs. The show really fucking loves people not having the use of their legs.
It's best. So they go to stop the sun, and there's all these, like, first is Togo, and then, like, dramatically Itsuki and Fu are there, too, to try to stop the sun.
What happened to them, anyway?
They got hit off screen at some point.
Yeah, and they were hurt and going...
Yeah, that's what happens. You get hit off screen, and then you're in timeout for a while. So they come out of timeout.
Despite the fact that you're hurt and can't move, you then have the ability to go buck wild.
Yeah. And then somehow Karin shows up, too. I guess she can just kind of sense where she has to go.
The thing with the Monkai forms, and even the magical girl forms, is that they get around your disabilities.
Sometimes. I mean, some of them.
I suppose in Yuki's case, she doesn't need her sense of taste to fight.
They don't imply that Karin can see when she's transformed.
No, just that she is somehow able to sense where things are, because she's still able to punch stuff and do things.
Only at the end there, because losing her sight was the last thing she lost during the speed stack.
Yeah.
So it wasn't clear, how she found out where she needed to go, but don't worry about it. It's a dramatic thing. Everybody's here. And then, of course, the last person to show up is Yuna.
Yeah.
And she can do it. And
so what happens? What's the visual? What happens visually? How does she defeat it?
She touches the pyramid. She touches the pyramid soul, and they win.
Yeah, it's the most undramatic thing where they're all yelling about being heroes and pushing further and further into the fireball, and then completely untransformed Yuki just slowly gets to this gigantic ass pyramid.
It's not as big as the other one, though. Let's be clear.
No, it's not as big as space.
The world-sized one.
Again, that was one of the vertex they rebuilt. Where the fuck was that vertex?
I mean, that one, its soul was bigger than the vertex itself, so who knows how that all works.
Yeah, Yuki touches the pyramid. Ting. It goes white.
And they win.
What's happened?
So then it cuts to and everything, our fight definitely wasn't a dream. There was some damage done to houses and stuff, but we're all better. And you know what? Itsuki can talk again. And everyone's getting better. And it turns out that the Shinju-sama decided that it did a mean thing by taking away all of our abilities just so that we could use our limit break. And so it decided, you know what? Takesies backsies. I'm going to take all of your disabilities back. Sorry about that. My bad. And so they don't have to be disabled anymore.
The Shinju-sama, they explicitly said, in order to give you this power, you have to give something up. Mm-hmm. But this just says, no, it was just a choice that the god was making. I just want to take your leggies.
The god's just a fucking prick.
The god is a prick who is into disabled moe girls.
Give me you leggies.
Yeah. So it turns out he could just give them the power the whole time without requiring anything on his own. They don't really establish why he gives it back.
The idea is Yuna showed herself to be such a cool hero that, the god was swayed.
Yeah.
But it feels so unearned. Again, compared to Madoka's choice to sacrifice herself, Yuki just kept shouting that she was a hero and punching things until they won.
Yeah, she just kept shouting Yuki Yuna is a hero, like the title of the show.
Yeah, I'm a hero.
They discuss how, according to the Taisha, the new system is you can go Monkai without sacrificing anything. You just get to go Monkai whenever you want.
Yeah, and it's real good to know that the central point of dramatic tension was completely arbitrary and didn't need to be there, and that someone just decided to undo it.
Yeah, that's the resolution. We all get happy ending. Don't worry, it's cool.
Wait, except Yuna.
Oh yeah.
So Yuna, unlike everyone else is getting better, but for some reason Yuna, she's in a wheelchair and she's completely
comatose.
She can't see or hear. Yeah, she's comatose, and it's oh no, but why? And there's all this needless amount of dramatic around will she wake up? Oh, I'll have to tend to her every need in the meantime.
It's treated a little bit like, again, Madoka. It's treated a little bit like, oh, okay, well this was her sacrifice. She sacrificed basically her life. Because she's completely comatose and not really alive anymore, because she was such a hero and she saved everyone by doing this.
Yeah.
But this was the price she paid. And Togo's reading a story to her that then just turns into a narrative about how guilty she feels because she caused the problem, which she did. And it is actually as much as it's one of those things was she's blaming herself. No, she absolutely should blame herself. This was all her fault.
Oh yeah, she did try to kill everyone.
Yeah, and she's doing the big over dramatic anime sobbing about how guilty she feels and she just wants her friend back. And then she just wakes up.
Yeah, and then Yuna wakes up because of the power of you believed that I would someday.
Yeah.
Because there's this whole thing about, you just need to keep believing that someone will get better. And, I know that it's not their intention to, you're not supposed to draw parallels to real world disabilities or whatnot. But there's also Fu spends a lot of time in denial about Itsuki's disability and stuff. And then the final thing is, don't worry, every malady will be healed.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, and it's okay that you were in the wheelchair because in the end, you don't have to be in the wheelchair.
Yeah. It is still just these are bad things that have happened to you. And the good ending is that you don't have to put up with them anymore. Even in the closing credits, it's now Yuki being pushed around by Togo in the wheelchair, and then it fades, and now they're all walking. So that's the ultimate ending where no one's in a wheelchair.
Also, there's that whole weird. So once Yuna's working again, and they go to and have their big play, for the school festival that they've been wanting to do, and Yuna dramatically falls over a bit, but then it's oh, is she not okay? But she is okay, and it's what was the fucking point of that?
Well, again, we were talking about the little play at the start, and how that was sort of a really good metaphor for the show. It was a very basic, boring story. And then the set fell apart, the plot fell apart, and then they said, "Oh, I win," and kicked someone, and that was that's the show. That's the whole show.
The ending play was also that because it's oh, some tension for a reason you don't know, and now it's over for another arbitrary reason. The end, happy end.
Yeah. Why did the god make them do that, and why did he change his mind? And
there's no logic to why the Taisha would lie sometimes, why they would. It's just all for the sake of suffering.
It's implied that Taisha genuinely didn't know some of this stuff.
Yeah, some of it they don't.
So it's clear that, okay, sometimes the Taisha does know things, and then when the Taisha goes, "Oh no, that was definitely it for you guys. The Monkai thing isn't doing that anymore. It'll be all cool." first of all, why would the Taisha be definitive about anything at this point?
Yeah, they imply like the Taisha somehow makes these rules, but it's like, do they talk to the tree? Does the tree just like hand down edicts and they're just like, they just have to deal with it? Because a lot of times they blame the Taisha for the rules, but it's like, so what power do they have over Mr. Tree?
They were mad at the Taisha for lying to them about the Monkai thing, which is implied, the Taisha knew that would be the result of going Monkai.
They totally knew that one.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did they bother to continually lie to them about that?
I mean, that one at least made sense, because it was like, they might not choose to do it if they knew. But we need them to defend us, so we lie to them until they're in a position where they just can't not defend us. And
okay, you maybe tell them that, like, the problem isn't permanent, fine. Why did they tell Kyoko Girl that it makes you stronger every time you go Monkai?
Yeah.
Why would you bother telling them the exact opposite of the truth? Why would you want them to stack disabilities?
in a combat sense, you do get stronger, I guess.
But she said it's like leveling up, like, you will be like exponentially stronger by having gone Monkai many times, which is exactly the opposite of what they need to be worried about. It doesn't make you a better fighter.
The world building is just completely busted by the end of this season 1. Like, the god is arbitrary.
Oh yeah, season 2 does not make it better.
No.
Spoilers.
Season 2 is the thing. But season 1, like, fuck, you just get to the end and it's like, well, I guess that was pointless.
Yeah.
That was all completely pointless. Like, sure, they beat that last vertex. What's the future like for this society? We continue to exist in this tiny bubble, surrounded by like a fire world that wants to kill us.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, people talk about Yuki Yuna as, I like it better than Madoka. I mean, obviously that's not a lot of people, but they'll say, like, but it had a happier ending than Madoka. It ends on a more positive note, and the way that the show frames it is more positive. But in the end, they are fighting a pointless, like,
endless war.
Yeah, endless war against an entire hell world that they're the only survivors of and can't do anything about.
Yeah, they are stuck. They're going to be stuck in this cycle forever on this tiny island with no real future apart from the status quo.
Yeah, that fucking sucks.
That's the happy ending. I mean, that gets me too when people say that Madoka has a sad ending. When it's like, it's a bittersweet ending, but it's still positive.
Yeah, well, look, that's a whole other argument we don't need to have with the internet on.
No, it is, but the point is that at the end of Madoka, she has done something to improve the world. You know what I mean?
The situation has been improved by her words and deeds.
Yeah. Her actions create a world where the girls don't have to suffer like they did anymore. In Yuki Yuna, they're essentially back where they started, except they don't have to Monkai anymore, only because the god decided, why not?
Yeah.
It's just...
it's so arbitrary.
It's arbitrary and it's not happy. It's a horrifying ending. Like, once you fully understand what's going on in that world, it's not solved. It's not even like there's hope.
If you just want to see the Moe smile, they do smile at the end and say that friendship is good. But it's not a good ending, though.
No, it's a bad ending. It's a very bad
ending.
Anyway, that was... season 1 was insane.
Oh, wait, good points, though. The music is very good. I've been listening to it a lot while working. It's clear that they wanted to try to go for something that's kind of like Madoka, especially with the transformation themes. But the people who did the music also did Nier Automata, which I hear also has an amazing soundtrack, and they did a good job, and I do like listening to the music.
It had a touch of Akira to me as well.
Yeah, because it has that kind of chanting Shinto vibe under some parts of it. Yeah.
In a similar way that Evangelion just sort of used Christian symbology and shit for sort of flavor, Yuki uses Shinto stuff. Yeah,
which is nice. It is nice to see that, because that's, different than a lot of magical girl stuff, which does tend to be a bit more Western themed.
Yeah. It was actually, it was quite cool. Again, I've seen people saying that, it's really well integrated into the show. It's like, it's not. It's just flavor.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's not that impressive. It's a Japanese company pulling from when base level Japanese mythology.
Yeah. It's not
it's not that.
Wow. No, it's fine. Now, I can't remember when we finished season 1. Did we know about season 2 at that point?
I knew that there had been a season 2. I didn't know a whole lot about it. I knew some of it was a prequel story, and I hadn't heard anything about it, which it turns out is because literally nobody has watched it.
Yeah, as far as we can tell, even the people who kind of liked Yuki Yuna that we've spoken to have been like, yeah, I haven't watched season 2. Or, there's a season 2.
Yeah, or they watched season 2 and they're like, yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense to me either.
Or they didn't get through it, which I could also understand. There's a particular episode in season 2 that's a real roadblock. So, So season 2...
How much later was season 2?
I think it was 2017. So the season 1 was 2014. Yeah, season 1 was 2014, wrapped up in 2014. And season 2 started in October in 2017. So,
so there was no real expectation that there was going to be a season 2 when season 1 finished. They made some light novels and stuff, which the first half of the second season is based on.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, what? They're making a season 2? I mean, I guess it did okay and everything. All right.
Yeah, it is very sort of okay. There were 3 light novels produced that were all just... One of them was the prequel, and the other 2 were just stories about other magical girls in the same world, which I don't know how that works, but sure. Oh, no, actually, no. One of the stories was about the very first team or something.
Yes, who happened to have someone who looks exactly like Yuna and is also named Yuna.
The season 2 is broken into 2 bits. There's with a recap episode in the middle.
Yes.
First half of season 2 deals with Togo's backstory and that first team.
Yes, it is the prequel story of
Yeah.
Togo's time as a magical girl when she and the bed girl were both active and there was a third girl. And it's supposed to kind of explain some stuff, but mostly it's just an excuse to show sexy elementary school students.
Yeah, they didn't, despite the fact that they were 2 years younger, they didn't really hold back on the continuing to show off boobs and stuff, which, cool.
Yeah, Togo's boobs get even more savisu, and it's ridiculous. And she does that thing where, in Penance, she throws water on herself while wearing a thin white robe.
Yeah.
And it's very gratuitous.
There's more Shinto shit in this thing for some reason. Well, actually, to begin with, she's given a different name when she becomes a magical girl at the start. She's called Washio Sumi.
Yeah, it's because she was adopted by the Washio family.
While she was
when
when
they realized that she would be a good magical girl, and then I guess once she lost her memory and wasn't a magical girl anymore, they returned her to her old family because they were done with her.
Yeah, this is so we didn't touch on this in season before, but this is implied occasionally in season 1. Is that the parents kind of know what's going on?
Yes,
to some extent. I guess the Taisha briefs them, and you occasionally hear about, my parents are really upset. You never see the parents.
Yeah.
You never hear from them.
Again, it's like a weird Kaon aspect, but in Kaon it's less weird because it's just to look at moe girls. It's more weird when it's I'm going to have to do this horrible, deadly thing, and I guess my parents are off screen thinking about it somewhere.
Yeah, the parents in Kaon never send their girls off to war.
Yeah.
And if they had, I imagine we would have heard from them.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a very strange season because, well, first of all, we know where it ends.
Yes.
There's 3 of them. We know what happens to Sonoko. She ends up in a bed. And we know what happens to Gin, who's the other person we're introduced to. She's going to die. We know where their season ends, and we know how they're going to end up having to do Monkai stuff. But then the majority of the show this season is just moe slice of life stuff. And again, it's got the same problem where we know this bad thing is coming in the future. I can't relax and just, even if I didn't mind all the weird sexual, pervy, fucking elementary girl shit, I can't relax and watch this. I know something awful is going to happen to these characters.
Yeah, and theoretically, this would be a good framework to explain some of the stuff that didn't quite make sense in the first season. Why is the system this way? And theoretically, this does answer the question of why the Monkai system exists the way it does. It does technically answer that.
It does also answer the question of how the Taisha communicate with God. That gets answered.
So there's the 3 girls, and they're all more in with the Taisha than Yuki and her crew were. Because it seems like this is the ideal situation from the Taisha's perspective, is they have these people that are part of the holy families, and they train them, and it's all part of the system.
It reminded me a lot of Fate, actually, in terms of mage families and shit.
Yeah.
There's just these families who they know about the situation of the world, they know what's going on. They help to train prospective candidates in the skills and abilities they'll need, so they can be as effective as possible.
Which and that is it is kind of fun to see them actually bothering to train the magical girls, which is some of the stuff I do in Sleepless Domain, obviously, because I like that kind of minutia.
Yeah.
There's Gin, who looks a lot like Karin. She's got red, she's got 2 swords, and it turns out that the excuse is that they gave her cell phone to Karin. Or I guess used her system somehow in Karin's, and that's why they look so similar. Which
I guess implies that there are a limited number of systems they can use at any one time, or something.
Yeah, but it's why didn't they give Sonoko's to someone? I mean, I guess technically she's still alive. I don't know. But
doesn't explain.
So the 3 girls, they're fighting, and then Gin dies.
Yeah.
And it's funny because she dies standing up, which I guess is a Bishamon thing, but it looks really funny because they're talking to her for a really long time while she's clearly dead but still standing, but like her arms off and everything.
Yeah, and then they start crying.
They're like just like it's supposed to be this dramatic thing where they're like, "Let's go home, Gin, it's fine," but it goes on super long.
Yeah. So the difference in the systems that are obvious at the moment is that like the bridge is intact. And they always fight on the bridge, and they don't have fairies. There are no fairies at this point.
Yes, they don't have fairies, and they can be injured. Like you see them getting cut and bleeding a lot.
Yeah, and then
a lot.
A lot. Yeah, it's a lot of punished girls. Yeah, and then which culminates in Gin being killed. Like in one of the battles, she's killed by a vertex.
Yeah, and so obviously they're really sad about that.
Yeah, now this was the confusing thing. Is it like? I guess this has never, in the entire history of this world, this has never happened before.
No, it clearly has happened because we see that graveyard that's full of magical girl graves.
Yeah, but like this time, the girls are really cut up.
For some reason, this one really moved Shinju-sama.
Yeah, like the Taisha and there's a point when they're like, they have a teacher who's their homeroom teacher is also their contact with the Taisha, and they spend time with her. And there's a point when they're in the car after this has happened, and they're driving around, and then the two girls just sort of burst into tears thinking about Gin. And the teacher's communicating with the Taisha and saying, they seem really messed up. I think we need to do something about this system. And it's like, okay, so was the problem that, like, previously when girls have died, their friends just didn't care enough?
I know, it's like, why was this never a problem before?
Yeah, there's nothing to justify why we needed a dramatic overhaul of the system.
Yeah.
But anyway, she communicates that with the Taisha. And no, she communicates that with the Taisha. They speak to Shinju-sama somehow, and Shinju-sama responds. How does Shinju-sama respond, Cube?
Okay, I guess it's technically possible that the Taisha typed it up or whatever, but the framing, I swear, is that Shinju-sama sent them a Word doc with all the new rules for how girls now can't die, but then they have to get the disabilities and the blah blah. Because you just see her, like, we've heard about the new rules for Shinju-sama, and she's just looking at her fucking computer at like a big PDF explains.
You see, she gets a PDF. And she's like, what?
Yeah, and she's like, this new system, it's too cruel. How can it be? And Taisha's like, we can't do anything about it. It's fucking Shinji-sama. I don't know. And it's just like, this was the idea. Yeah, it's the magical PDF that told them that the girls have to get disabilities now. And as we know from the second half, this is totally because Shinji-sama is a fucking pedophile.
Yeah.
And he's just into that.
That's the worst part. That, like, of all this whole thing with doing this prequel series is meant to explain things. It doesn't really explain anything. It's very confusing.
Yeah, it just really like underlines how nonsensical it is.
Yeah.
Like this is somehow supposed to have been the system to solve the problem of it's too sad when girls die.
Yeah, that was the solution. So instead we're going to make them disabled and live forever. Because they won't be upset about that.
Shinju-sama can take away their memories.
Yeah. So why couldn't...
the problem is them being sad, just make them forget Gin.
Yeah, that was a solution that was right there on the table. But again, like, that's not addressed. It's just, and again, because we know he takes the things away at the end. This series is so pointless. This first half of this season is so fucking pointless. Yeah. It was such a frustrating watch because, like, aside from we know what's going to happen and we know it doesn't matter. So yeah. Ugh.
And, like, you might have guessed that Sonoko, like, lost all of her abilities over time or something, but it turns out that no, she just went Monkai 20 times or whatever in one fight real quick at the end. So it's like, now that we have the new system, okay, oh no, all the bad guys are coming or whatever, they decided to.
Yeah.
So Washio goes Monkai twice, and she goes Monkai a bajillion times. And it's funny because, like, of course they have that moment where, like, Togo goes Monkai once, and it's like, oh, I can't use my leggy. But why? I don't understand. Because, of course, they didn't explain the system to them for drama. And then she does it again, and then Sonoko's like, are you okay? And she's like, who are you? What's going on? Where's Gin? So she remembers Gin during that, but she definitely doesn't remember Gin later.
Yeah, so she remembers... If she doesn't know where she is, why would she think Gin was there?
It's just a dramatic thing to say.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they don't think. They haven't fucking thought about any of this. And the worst thing is, this was the one adapted from the light novels. So there was time to, like, adapt it and fix things, and they didn't.
Yeah, and it must have meant that they thought that it was cohesive enough to adapt in that way.
Yeah, but all that, or they just didn't give a shit, which is also, like, from having watched
also
it, is
very possible.
Entirely possible that this was just like, look, people will watch it, it'll
like
make money.
OVA. It feels like a little gratuitous OVA.
Yeah.
To get a bit more money off of the people that are super fans.
It's 6 episodes. It has less plot than an OVA. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so that happens. She goes Monkai, and we're all caught up.
And one of the things that is taken away that you realize during it is Sonoko's heart stops beating. But clearly she's still alive, so I don't know how all that works, because it's like, so Shinju-sama can make up for the heart not working, but he doesn't feel like making up for the leggies not working or whatnot, because he obviously could if he wanted to.
Yeah, we know he can, but like, why even bother making the heart stop?
Yeah.
Like, what does that achieve?
Yeah, what kind of sacrifice is that?
Because it doesn't kill you. Like, with all of the things done to limbs and senses, you've lost something that you used to be able to do. If your heart stops but you're still living, there is no change. Like,
yeah, if the idea is that it's supposed to be a sacrifice, oh, I can't feel my heartbeat anymore, a lot of songs will be weirdly sad to me now, I guess. It's so luck-based, like, so you can lose your heart, and that one's basically a freebie.
Yeah.
Or you can lose both your leggies at once, which is like, I guess, getting like a really unlucky roll.
Yeah. That's S rank. Before we move on from this season, like I said, there's fuck all plot in it, because most of it is just moe nonsense, including episode 3. Now, episode 3 is titled...
I don't remember most of episode 3. Like, literally, I cannot remember most of it. I, like Shinju-sama, taking away my memory because it was too painful.
You were so mad. You were so angry.
Episode 3 is called Nichijou.
Yeah, it's called Everyday Life. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's trying to be like the show Nichijou,
in
that it's just a series of largely unrelated skits about the girls having wacky everyday adventures at school, but everything going on is so fucking buck wild.
Yeah, the tone of the show changes completely. Even the animation style to a certain extent. They start doing sillier faces. There's a lot of weird fast motion stuff. There are 3 dream sequences.
I don't even remember it. I can't remember.
Ostensibly, it introduces one character thing, is in that Jin, it makes a point of, you see Jin helping a lot of people, like do little things like cross the road and stuff, and it's like, oh, Jin's nice, hope nothing happens to her.
Her name's Gin. Don't call her with the name of the evil Ruby Boob lady.
Sorry. Gin. Her name's Gin. Gin's nice, hope nothing happens to her. Anyway, but the other, but see, another character aspect it introduces that I don't think was as intentional was it introduces a character called National Defense Mask.
Oh.
Now, so this is something else about this prequel series. Because, Togo loses her memories, the version of Togo we're watching is essentially not a character we're familiar with, and a character who will cease to exist.
Yeah, she has a totally different personality. Like, there's aspects, but it's so flanderized that it's like, this isn't... I don't know this person.
We're not actually watching the same character, really. This is essentially a different person. And one of the things in the first 2 episodes you notice is that Togo just seems to be into, naval ships from the Second World War. As a thing on its own, it's like, oh, okay, she thinks ships are cool, that's cool.
Yeah, Kantai Collection is very hot right now.
Yeah, that's fine. In episode 3, we are introduced to National Defense Mask, which is Togo putting on a costume that looks a lot like specific era of Japan's police force, I think.
Yeah, kind of like a Meiji police kind of thing.
Yeah, a lot like Nobu in Fake Go. It's a similar sort of look.
You would think of Nobu.
I would think of Nobu. She goes around ostensibly to do good deeds, but they put on a play for the students where...
Oh, God. I forgot about the play.
This play for the students is not so much about doing good deeds as it is inspiring ultranationalism and a belief in Japan, and you should join the army and defend the country. And they end up getting in trouble for this because they've incited too much nationalism.
Yeah, it's funny because in the first season there are shades of this that she has. She has this nationalist bent, but they really crank it up to 11, and it's really funny because again we know there is no Japan.
Yeah, there's only one island.
No other nations.
No. There's no ocean anymore. There's nowhere for the ships to go. But she's out there talking about you should be willing to die for your country, and it's just she's
a Japanese alt-writer now.
This episode is is fucking Nichijou, except Nano is a fucking ultranationalist.
And she maintains that aspect.
Yeah.
So the second half of the second season is in the future, after the events of the first season, and she retains this level of ultranationalism. Like, there's a Christmas episode, and she's like, oh, isn't it so generous of our great nation to accept the practices of other cultures into our own?
Yeah.
Like, you know there's no other cultures, you know there's no nation. You know that the world's been destroyed.
And she dresses up as National Defense Mask again.
Yes.
So and then you pointed out to me that, like, while they've all got Shinto stuff, which again is ramped up in season 2, there's more of it.
Yes.
All of the vertexes are based on Western gods and cosmology and stuff. So
yeah.
So is there a hidden nationalist message in this show, or just a bent?
It's like, hey, look, we have the happy ending. Only Shikoku exists. Finally, we have destroyed the rest of the heathens with their Virgos and their Leos.
I mean, like, to a certain extent, the National Defense Mask thing is played for a joke, and she is told off and told that's a bad thing you did. But man,
It's a cute moe trait aspect, though.
Yeah, is it? Is that a cute moe thing to be an ultranationalist? Because if it's not, then, like, fuck, they're really it's again ambitious. Like,
yeah, it's a lot.
This episode is so scattered, and it's very confusing coming, because even the other 2 episodes, while nothing else was going on, it followed the same pattern of the rest of Yuki Yuna, where, like, there's a fight, maybe, and they do school shit, and this one is just batshit. Like, it's quick.
I was
and
honestly losing my mind.
Yeah.
I was blacking out. I could not believe this was happening to me.
We were watching chunks of it together, and that episode finished, and Cube was like, "I'm going to bed." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, I was like, I can't anymore. This show.
It's
but little
fucked.
did I know what the second half of season 2 would be like.
Yeah. Okay, so now second half of season 2. So
I feel like we should try to tear through the plot of it a bit.
well, there's no other way to do it. Like,
yeah.
What's crazy about it is that at least the first half of season 2, it was based on a light novel, right? So there's a reason that it is the way it is. Like, there's a reason. It's the light novel's, like, shortness is probably why it's a little bit thin.
Right. Like, okay, so they had a light novel that had, like, 2 episodes worth of material maybe, and they had to, like, pad it out or something.
Yeah, but the point was they were still choosing to make a 12-episode season. They had what they had from the light novel, and they had everything else they wanted to do, and they still decided to make it half and half, because there is so much fucking story in the second half that is just bolted through.
Okay, so I'm going to try to do my best to just explain what happens in the second half, and then we can really talk about it.
Okay, go.
But I feel like it needs to be laid out.
Yes, no, do it.
Okay, so they're all having good, happy times because they beat the vertexes and they don't have to be magical girls anymore. But then suddenly Togo, you realize that, where's Togo? Togo's not there. She's been unexistent. She's been Madoka'd, but why? And so the girls suddenly remember her, and they realize that something's wrong. Where's Togo? And they find out that she was sacrificed to the outside gods. Wait, why was she sacrificed again? Oh, like in exchange for them agreeing not to attack for a while. The fact that they have negotiations between the Hell World gods and
keep going. Go.
Okay. So Togo, as part of the deal, she decided to go live in a black hole outside in the hell dimension outside of Shinju-sama. So they're like, what? Togo's being sacrificed. We need to go save her. So they go and they see the black hole and it's running away from them, and they're like, oh, we gotta get in there. We gotta save her. And Yuki gets in there, and she goes into this, like, soul dimension where she's pink, and Togo's in, like, a big metal mirror, and she pulls Togo out of it, and Togo's like, no, I have to do this to make up for what I did. And Yuki's like, no consequences. And so she pulls Togo out, and they bring Togo home, and it's fine. And they said that they needed her whole life force to make up for what was done, but they were like, they got most of her life force, and I guess they're happy with that, so whatever. So I guess it's cool. But then wait, Yuki has a curse mark on her. I guess she's the curse now. But why? We don't know. So Yuki everyone is having good times now and everyone's happy except Yuki is in pain or something, and she tries to talk to Sonoko about it because Sonoko's good now. She's healthy and everything. She doesn't have to be in the bed, and she's joined them, and her character trait is that she's really stupid. And so she tries to talk to Sonoko about it, but then Sonoko shows up and she has hand injuries, and you're supposed to assume that's related. And then she tries to talk to Fu about it, but then Fu almost gets hit by a car.
No,
and
Fu gets hit by a car.
That's true. Fu gets hit by a car and almost dies. And so Yuki realizes that anytime she tries to talk to anyone about her curse, they get bad luck cursed and presumably will die next time if she tries to tell them about it. So she can't talk to anyone about whatever her curse is. And then at one point there's a great shot where she just falls over in the snow and she's just crying, and we're like, why? We don't understand what's happening. What is your curse? And she's just like, oh, I'm so sad, girl in snow. And that going on, and so the girls realize that she's acting suspiciously, and they're like, we need to find out why. So they try talking to the Taisha, good luck with that. And Togo also sneaks into her room, and she finds a journal that Yuna's been keeping about her curse, and it turns out that she talked to Taisha about her curse, and they told her that if she talks to anyone else about it, they'll be cursed, and so she can't talk to them about it, and also that she's going to die in like 2 months. Because Shinju-sama made them new bodies to make up for the fact that the other ones were so disabled. Like, it couldn't just heal them; it had to make them new bodies. And I guess that was a lot of work, and it was too much. And so her body's breaking down. So she's going to live for only 2 more months, and she can't talk to anybody about it. But it's okay if they find out about it through secondhand information, so now they all know about it. But Yuna still can't talk to them about it because she tries to, and the curse mark still shows up, and it's still like, whom. So she literally can't talk to them about it, but they all know about it now. And so what Yuna decides to do is to marry a tree, because it turns out that Shinju-sama is dying, and the only way to deal with the fact that Shinju-sama is dying now is he wants to marry a little girl. And so she's the only one that can do it because her body's so close to Shinju-sama, and also Shinju-sama is a lolicon. And it makes a lot of the plot of the first season and a half make way more sense when you know that Shinju-sama is into little girls. So the Taisha has told her that she has to marry Shinju-sama so that Shinju-sama can instrumentality everyone, so that they can all go and be a part of Shinju-sama in magical goop void or whatever, and so everybody's going to die, or everybody's going to be instrumentality'd like Evangelion. So she's like, okay, I'm going to go marry Shinju-sama, I'll do it. But the other girls find out about it, and they're like, no, you can't do it, you can't marry Shinju-sama, it sucks. And so the other gods also don't want Shinju-sama to marry her because they're like, no, lolicon. And so while she's going to Shinju-sama to get married to him, the other gods start attacking, so the other girls have to hold off the evil gods. And meanwhile, Yuna has gone to be married to Shinju-sama, and how that works is that you get wrapped up in bondage by snakes. And the snakes eat your soul, and the camera has to really show your soul crotch while the leggies are being nommed away closer and closer to that crotch. It's a very important part of marrying Shinju-sama. And so Togo manages to make it to Yuna, where she's being soul devoured. It's a good wedding. And meanwhile the Taisha are turning into wheat. And it's very like, we want shots that are like the end of Evangelion, where they turn into Tang, but instead they become wheat, and they're just like, we're wheat now. So that happens. It's fine. And so Yuna's being soul devoured, and Togo shows up, and she's like, Yuna, it's okay to say you want help when you need it. It's okay to say that you're scared. And Yuna's like, no, I can't. And she's like, you gotta do it. And then Yuna's like, I don't want to marry a tree. And it's like, yes, you've learned your lesson. Now I can save you. Even though Yuna, the only reason she wasn't telling everyone about her problems was because they literally got hit by a car when she did. And that was a direct result of that. But no, she has to learn the lesson that it's okay to tell others about your problems. So all the souls of the dead magical girls show up to help, and they all together interrupt the wedding and save her from pedophilia. And Shinju-sama's like, oh, fine, I guess I'll just give you everything you want again for nothing. And so Shinju's Sama heals the entire world, and the whole world of Hellzone leaves, and everything's okay now, and Shinju-sama's dead, but it's okay because all the problems have been fixed. Nobody has to marry a tree. Nobody has to die in 2 months. Everything's fine. The end. Fuck you.
Did you catch all that? 6 episodes. They do all of that in 6 episodes.
And they also make time for, like, slice of life shenanigans.
Oh yeah, no. This season is like, this half of the season is just batshit because it facilitates back and forth between slice of life nonsense and the really serious shit incredibly
even
rapidly.
while they're having the dramatic, wait, we've forgotten Togo, why couldn't we remember her? They're flashing back to, like, stupid nationalist mask bullshit and other, like, super goofy things.
Yeah. It's like, hey, remember when she was a racist?
Yeah, like, oh no, we loved her so much when she did that.
Yeah, and it's like they they'll immediately, like, something horrible will happen, and then we do the fucking Moe shit. And this is the worst thing though, is that, like, while Yuna is trying to figure out what's wrong with her and sort of realizes that she's dying, is the most like sustained period of just Moe shit. So, like, they're doing the cutesy Christmas episode while we know this thing is happening to Yuki. Like,
yeah,
and
there's like there's like such a big dramatic thing where Karin is, like, basically begging her to tell her about her problems, and Yuki just, she can't, and it's just so sad and horrible. But again, she can't because Karin will die. Yeah. It's not, like, because she's just trying to take all the problems onto herself.
Yeah, Karin takes it as like, you don't consider me a good enough friend. And then later on, when they find out what is actually going on, Karin sobs and everyone sobs. There's so much fucking over-the-top crying in this one. And it's like every other episode. There will be a moment of that because they have to get through so much fucking plot. Like, so fast. Everyone just seems mental in this one because it's so unhinged. Like, how rapid. And again, this isn't based on a light novel. This is what they chose to do. This is what they chose to try and
I think
squeeze.
it's the same writer as the first season.
Yeah.
So it's not like someone else took over and they didn't know what to do with it. It's like this is the logical extension of the first show. Suddenly she's like, I'm going to marry a tree.
You could have done the first half in 2 episodes and spread this out over a longer period. But no, you just decided... It
still would have been stupid, though.
It's still incredibly stupid. Like, Yuki's curse ends up being not really related to... She gets the curse, and that's just kind of it. She gets the curse, and the curse is bad. Because that happens over 2 episodes, and then the thing with marrying Shinju-sama essentially comes out of nowhere in the second to last episode, and the solution to that also happens to solve the curse. But
yeah, and it's strange because they make such a big deal about, like, you shouldn't have to marry this tree, but it's kind of undercut by the fact that she's going to die in a couple months anyways.
And everyone else will die if you don't. Like,
yeah.
The 2 options they present is everyone dies or everyone gets instrumentality. It's the same thing as like what happened with Togo in the last season, where this isn't really as much of a choice as you're making it out to be because like, she has a good reason for doing this. She, like 2 good reasons. 1, everyone else will die otherwise, and 2, she's going to die anyway. You set that up with the curse. So why... Yeah. But no, you can't die. We've got to all stay together and be friends, even though if it means we will just cease to exist anyway. Because they do actually have a moment of that where, like, Yuki says, I don't want to do this. I don't want to sacrifice myself and marry a tree. And she gets pulled out of it. Then she's like, oh, but fuck, now what?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, well, yeah, that's a really good question. You probably should have considered that.
And then she, like, takes on the power of all the magical girls ever and goes, like, Super Monkai and, like, punches out God, one of them.
It's so patronizing at the end. Like, because you feel like the show just thinks you're a dead shit. Because the solution, again, is just, I'm going to absorb all this power that came out of nowhere and punch a thing. And everything's fine. Like... This show thinks so little of its audience. It's pathetic. Like,
look, we know what you're here for. You want to see him do the cute shit. You want to see him cry. We got both for you.
Yeah, we'll even chuck in a big punch. Like, fucking, yeah. It's just pathetic. Like, it's really pathetic. As well as the other thing as well is, like, in terms of theme, the very last thing Yuki does is says, "No, I don't want to be a hero. No, I don't want to sacrifice myself." And while maybe that makes sense as a character moment, you just undercut the rest of the show and all the insisting you did about being a hero and shit. Like,
Yeah, and again, I think it's supposed to be like it's okay to ask for help when it's too much, but it's so. But that's what she tried to do.
Yeah,
she couldn't.
Like it's okay to ask for help when you need help. Could have been help me get through this decision I've made. Not I don't want to be a hero. I don't want to do the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
wait, I actually want everyone to die. Good. You learned your lesson. Now you understand what I understood in the first season. Everyone has to die right away.
We finally agree. I did. You know what was funny though was because the first episode, the Togo not being there thing is only really crops up right at the end, and they just quickly talk about where she is. And I kind of like how you were watching it, and I was waiting for you to notice, and
I didn't.
You never did.
Because by that point you've got like 6 people.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh yeah, where's Togo?
Yeah, she's just not there. She's just not. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't really talked about it, but now that we actually get to know Sonoko through like the first half of this season and this half, her character is like, who's the stupid one in Kaon?
Yeah, she's supposed to be like Yui.
Yeah,
it's a very popular archetype now. You know, it's just like she's an airhead, she's sleepy, she's stupid. Her thing is she's stupid.
But they kind of ramped it up a bit too much. To the point where
I've noticed a lot of post-Kaon things do that, where like, oh, you thought Yui being stupid was cute? This character's really, really stupid.
Yeah, to the point where it's like, I'm not sure you can actually function on your own. Like, yeah, you just
it's
seem.
Like, oh, that's right. You were in a bed for a long time. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Hey, are you okay?
She has a stuffed toy she takes with her everywhere that she talks through, and like, it's so obviously meant to be cutesy, but it's also like, fuck, this is.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you need to maybe see a doctor just in case.
Yeah. It just.
She does have a very cute fairy companion, though.
Yeah, her fairy's cute.
He's my favorite. He's supposed to be like a Karasu Tengu, and she calls him Sebastian, and so he's like a little crow bird with a little kimono on it. He's the cutest.
Yeah, he's pretty good. But yeah, it's like the fairies are there, but they don't do anything this season. Like when Fu gets hit by a car, the fairy jumps out like it's going to protect her, and doesn't.
What was up with? I guess it can't protect her from the curse or something. Oh, what's interesting is that it does a kind of like backfill element where it tries to answer like, oh, so they can just, like the end of the first season was like, it was entirely arbitrary and there's no stakes and they just got what they wanted and it didn't matter. But it's like, no, see, because it gave them these bodies with no consequence, that's why it's dying now. I thought there was totally a moment where you were in Soul Land and you talked about it, but we just didn't show it.
Yeah. So it showed what was annoying in the end of season 1 was that when Yuki touches a pyramid, you're like, okay, but how did that fix that? How did that solve that problem? And we see what happened. While she was comatose, she got sucked into that soul land she's in, where she finds Togo. But and you're like, okay,
the crow was? Is the crow Togo?
I don't know. The crow wasn't Togo because you hear Togo talking to her, and then you see this crow fly in and lead her out. I don't think you ever find out what the crow is. Like,
yeah, I was like, maybe that references some kind of supplementary material or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, leave a comment. Who was the crow?
What was up with the crow?
Who blew crow? Blue crow?
And you see him again at the end when she decides not to marry the pedophile tree, and the crow turns up and goes away
and it's like
again.
There with all the dead magical girls.
Yeah. So I don't know.
That's why I was like, is this some other dead magical girl from like one of the other light novels?
It's this chunk of the season. It's called the hero chapter or something, and it's just random bullshit after random bullshit. Like I can't stress enough that the curse is entirely inconsequential because it doesn't get resolved. Yeah. It's just there to make her feel bad and suffer. Like
but they implied that it's only because of him having to make her body, because it was like so fucked up and he had to make a new one. So they imply it isn't even related to her going and pulling Togo out of the black hole mirror.
Oh no! It happened because she pulled Togo out of the black hole. The body thing was separate. So
okay, so she has 3 problems going.
Yeah. Well, no, because the body thing wasn't a problem, right? The body thing was everyone else could just be healed slowly, but she was so fucked up from mankaiing too much and touching the pyramid at the end that she was like completely separated from her body and became a soul. So Shinji-sama makes her a new body, and eventually we find out.
Didn't it say that's part of why Shinji-sama was dying?
I think it might have been, yeah.
Because it's like too much.
Yeah, it was too much work for him, and that's why he's dying. And that's also why he wants to marry you, is because your body is of him, kind of.
Yeah, I guess he wants to like vor himself or something.
Yeah, the curse. She gets the curse because she drags Togo out. Because like when she pulls Togo out of the thing, you see her soul being covered in those burns.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and so again, it's this like you were saying during the round, and I stopped you. Why is there negotiation going on between Shinzu-sama and these other gods that have just been trying to kill them? Like why was a deal struck, and the deal was we get that one girl's life force? Like, why is that the solution? And then when Yuki undoes that, the gods, despite her body now being a body of Shinju-sama, the gods curse her, so she's going to die in a few months, like painfully.
Yeah, it's like, are they still getting her life force? Do they even care? Does anything matter?
Yeah, like just the fact that the contract was broken.
Get married?
Like they tell us after they pull Togo out that the fact that the contract was broken doesn't matter, but they're still the other gods are still fucking her up. Well, they're not attacking anymore for some reason, but they're still like they're going to fuck with her, and again like it's only there so she can suffer because they make a point of showing how painful it is, and she's getting more and more like she has a chronic illness where she just sort of it's harder for her to walk, she has less energy, she has to sleep more. You see like her like shower scenes, and she's just like progressively more and more covered in these burns, and like at one point when she's offered the thing about like, do you want to marry Shinju-sama? Like, she's deciding whether or not to do it, and the other girls are finding out about it. And as that's happening, you see her ascending this mountain, and it's really difficult and painful for her because she's like, her body's all fucked up and cursed, and she's in pain, and she's sweating, and she's crying, and you're like, okay, but she's okay. I guess she's on her way to the Taisha to marry the tree. She gets to the top of the mountain, looks around at a honestly pretty unimpressive view, and goes, okay, I'll marry the tree, and then goes back down.
She's like, it's so beautiful. Like, she just wanted to have one last like good look at their beautiful city, but it's like one of the Taisha couldn't carry her up there.
Yeah,
like, they act like they worship them like gods, but at the same time, she had to like crawl her way up this mountain herself.
Yeah, like the Taisha when they talk to her are constantly like face down in the ground, as like prone as they can be because they worship her so much. And we need you, or we're all going to die. But in the meantime, climb that mountain. That's fine. We don't care.
Yeah, go flop around some for the camera, please.
Yeah.
Oh,
God.
And yeah, it's like, and of course her parents can't help her because they can't be on screen.
No. That's the other thing. They sort of make it clear the parents are aware of what's going on. But they don't.
Yeah, they're like, the parents, the situation was explained to them, but it's your choice. And so they're like, okay, good to know.
And also just the instrumentality thing just comes out of fucking nowhere. And it's actually like funny when you see the fucking they just start bursting into wheat.
Yeah, we both started laughing because it's just like, oh, we're just doing this now. We're just doing Ava. Okay,
sure, yeah, okay. They're going to become.
Let's throw
wheat.
that in there while we're copying other things.
Oh no, the best thing though is that like the last shot you see before it all gets reversed is there was 40 or 50 of the Taisha people sitting and praying, and now there's like 3 left who aren't wheat. And
oh yeah, I guess those ones weren't, just devout enough.
This is the thing. I guess it wasn't reversed because
because the wiki.
Because the wiki says, "Can you get that quote?
Yeah,
can you get that quote? Because this is from the Yuki Yuna wiki, written by the fans." And they have
because I went over to the wiki because I was like, maybe there's like supplementary material, and the people who really like the show, they'll be able to explain this better, and they'll like have like a way that they've tried to make it coherent in their heads, and I can read about it. So the last thing that they say about the Taisha on the wiki is, in the year 301 DE, the Taisha disbanded as most of its members became wheat. Which, whoever wrote that wiki entry, I love you.
I know. I feel like at that point they're like, yeah, we know. we know. This is just fucking stupid.
Yeah, even the fans have got it. I was like, there must be there's so many light novels, and there's like a gotcha game. Some of it must explain some more about all this shit, but no.
No, I just think I think they actually got to the point where they established so much stuff that you can't make it all work together. Like
probably, it's like just don't think about it, please. We beg you.
Yeah, it's the Ruby problem where you've established so much lore, but like unlike Ruby, they seem unwilling to retcon themselves. Like, it's always
Yeah.
just that the Taisha were lying. Like, that's kind of what the Taisha are there in the story, is just to be the person you blame when we need to change what's happened. Like,
Taisha is the Ozpin of... It's just like, why did they lie about that? Because that's what they do.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
lie,
Yeah.
but not for any reason. No, because they're liars.
the Taisha are wheat in your balls.
Yeah, and now they're wheat.
That's essentially Yuki Yuna.
That's Yuki Yuna.
Yeah.
We went on for 3 hours about it, just like Ruby.
Yeah. I mean, look, we could go into more detail about the hero chapter, but, like, fuck, you sort of need to watch it.
Yeah, and honestly, like, it's hard to dissect just because it's clearly there's no structure and it's all insanity, and it's
Yeah.
like, how do you even begin to try to break that apart? The first season, you can at least get what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but in that chunk, there are 3 distinct ideas. Only one of which is sort of two of which are a complete story on their own, and they don't mesh. I just don't get why you would, like, just pick one. Any one of those, even though they're dumb, could have been. I just realized the thing with Togo is essentially rebellion, right?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a rebellion-y thing to it where Togo was trapped, we go and rescue her. Except it's like we knew from the start.
Just like self-martyring.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
And then the thing with the curse is just Yuki's going to suffer for a while and be in pain. And then the thing with marrying the tree is like that's the end. This is kind of the end of the story, even though it's not, because they don't explain what the consequences are of the entire world being back, but they're only humans.
Well, I mean, it seems like, so now they can. Hey, now they get to be the colonialists. They get to repopulate the entire world that's just waiting for them with their superior Japanese people.
We're just back to the nationalism. We've already got tons of wheat, so yeah.
Oh, we did it. Yeah, I'm surprised it's wheat and not rice. What is this strange Western grain?
Yeah, the last thing it tells you is that Fu went to high school and we had a ceremony, we had a party to congratulate her.
Oh yeah, and now Itsuki is the head of the hero club.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares? What about the fact that the rest of the world is there now and is not a giant hellscape? And presumably, hopefully, people would find out about that finally.
Yeah.
It's just all such business as usual.
Yeah, it's just like that you could go back to a normal life after that. Oh god. Again, I feel like it is this thing of they've just looked at other. Obviously, they looked particularly closely at Madoka, but like I guess the comparison you can sort of draw would be like in like Sailor Moon, right? They are doing these like end of the world type insane things while also having school day stuff.
Yeah.
But like the show has a different tone. It's a lot lighter. You can do that when the show is light.
There's also like the whole element of like no one else has any idea that anything's going on.
Yeah.
And so they have like this normal life to return to. But here, there's this other rest of the world, and also the Shinju-sama, which is now dead. Like the god that everyone worships.
Yeah. Like this world is not normal, and it shouldn't be, and we never get an explanation for how it functions. So it's just always annoying you in the back of your head as to why. Why? Just why? Why?
Yeah, just why everything.
Yeah.
And the best part is that this is the most solid and cohesive post-Madoka Maho show. This is the best that they have to offer.
You told me that, and I don't believe you. Because...
Well, okay, I guess it depends on some of your criteria, because Sight is more cohesive.
Yeah, like I feel like Sight is bad and awful, but it knows what it wants to do, and it's doing it, I guess.
But see, if you assume that what this knows what it wants to do is have the shape of Madoka for the sake of creating moe bait, I guess it did do that, and it did succeed for its target demo. They got a second season and a gacha game.
But the story is just batshit. Like, isn't the story in Sight at least like
at least
kind of
the
makes
stuff
sense?
that got adapted into the anime, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the manga's still going, and it just gets progressively more purposefully offensive.
Yeah.
But you can make a cohesive story out of it, at least.
Yeah, I do feel like while you can see the intention behind Yuki Yuna and the choices they were making, I still feel like on a certain level it's not successful because
no,
it doesn't work. Like it doesn't work as an actual show. Like that part of it is there and you can watch it, but you would really have to work to ignore all the other problems to just enjoy that aspect of it.
You would think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we don't understand how other people watch media, I guess.
True. I mean, as I said before, there's like entirely sincere fans of RWBY. I don't get that on any level. And same with this.
Some people are just wrong, though.
I don't know how you could watch. I mean, again, I suppose there's no appeal for us of the moe aspect of it.
And I know that there's people who liked it who don't consider themselves lolicons, and I think they just think, hey, it's like Madoka, but it's got an ending that seems happier, and I'm not too worried about the details. I'm on the wiki and looking at all the official images of the girls, and there's one that's just Yuki's swimming butt, like, super close to Kara's. Ridiculous.
I could never fucking enjoy this show without thinking about that part of it.
Oh, yeah. And I know that this isn't like a representative demographic or whatnot, but I definitely had people when I was considering watching this show who assured me the transformations are a little sexual, but the rest really isn't. And it's a good show, and, you just have to ignore the transformations. And that's wrong and a lie.
Yeah, no, the transformations are explicitly sexual, and so is the rest of the show. There's plenty of sexual shit in the show. In Karin's introduction episode, there's that whole swimming pool scene where there's like the butt shinies.
Yeah, you know that it's horny when there's the two little shiny highlights on both of the butt cheeks when you're in your swimming outfit, and of course they do that.
Yeah. It can't make that excuse.
Yeah, and this won't make any sense to Phoenix, but Yuki Yuna is the coward's Vivid Red Operation, in my opinion.
I haven't seen
it's Vivid Red Operation, but you aren't quite willing to admit what you're into.
Oh, I know. It definitely feels like it's hedging, and it's trying to, hide it. Like, it's sort of pretending that it isn't doing what it's doing.
It's not 100% just going for it with the asses.
No, because it's all. I think he's also trying to be a suspenseful Madoka type show. Like, you look at the music and the fights and stuff, it's still definitely... I mean, I guess that's what I mean by it's not cohesive, in that if it was just trying to do that... The only way I could say it was sort of cohesive, it was like, what if you want moe lolicon Madoka, but you don't want to admit it? So if you just really wanted more sexuality in that setting, then what you get is Vivid Red Operation, where it's just butts. Yeah, but if
clearly they wanted this to be a bit of everything.
Yeah, if you know you want that, but you want to be able to tell people, oh no, it's got all this other stuff going on. Well, we've got a show for you.
I'm definitely watching it for the story. Look at this dramatic scene where it zooms out from her crotch.
Yeah. You can't have watched it closely and not have seen that. It's just it's impossible.
I don't think so.
Anyway, that's Yuki.
That's a show. I feel like we should also call this one with apologies.
Probably, yeah. We were going to call it Maho shows, though.
Yeah, that Maho show, though.
I feel like we could probably talk about other good magical girl shows and do that, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, those wouldn't need to be.
Or we watch Sight, and we don't have to apologise to anyone who likes it, because if you really genuinely like Sight, you're probably not a great person.
Yeah. Look, okay, so these are the ones that we know of in terms of shitty post Madoka Mahos. You got Sight. You got Asuka.
Which we've watched a few episodes of. And
yes, we had to stop when it became sexual assault porn.
Yeah, sexual torture porn.
As it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Magical Girl Raising Project, which I actually haven't watched any of, and I'd be totally down for watching. Mm-hmm. But I already know it has a lot of the same stuff going on with the lolicon stuff and whatnot. There's Daybreak Illusion, which is a weirder one.
This is the thing. I was trying to think, because I was looking through lists, and I was trying to work out, apart from, say, Precure, have there been any other, sort of successful magical girl shows?
That aren't aimed at men?
Either that are, the dark ones, but are actually kind of good, or are just a straight up and down magical girl show. That is post Madoka that has actually been sort of successful or was good.
Yeah, I feel like not really. I mean, there was Sailor Moon, Crystal, and Cardcaptor Clear Card, which are obviously, both banking on existing franchises, kind of like Precure.
Same with Precure, yeah. So it's the only things that are still continuing are stuff that was already established.
Like you could say Symphogear, but obviously that's for guys technically too.
Yeah, the new stuff for that target demo is idol shows.
Yeah, it's all idol shows. And someone was saying that there's a new series of It's Magical Girl Tokusatsu. It's live action, which I'm going to have to watch that shit.
Oh.
But apparently it's kind of like Precure or Kamen Rider in that each season is a new thing. And there's one that's they're Phantom Thief Magical Girls now. And I'm yeah, I got to watch that.
I was going to say the only other magical girl show that I've watched that isn't any of those things is a comedy, which was Magical Girl Ore, which also really, really bad. Like, I'm going to make you watch at least a couple episodes of that because it is just.
No,
I have never.
will,
look, you've made me watch Yuki Yuna and Ruby. I'm going to make you watch something bad.
Fair, very fair.
It's
turnabout's fair play.
Yeah, it's like if you haven't seen Ore, it's like. It's a comedy where the magical girl. The joke is that you transform into a giant, muscly man when you transform, but still in like a magical girl dress, and that's the joke. And like the character's best friend is gay for her, and then she becomes a magical boy who's into her, and it's just and it's like I've never seen. I mean I haven't watched a lot of anime comedy. I know a lot of it's not great.
Yeah.
Like apart from like Nichijou and stuff, but it's like I've never seen something that was just so like painfully and constantly fourth wall breaking. It's just
oh boy,
oh god, awful. Anyway,
I can't wait.
Yeah.
But if there's any other magical girl shows we should also check out, or if you think we should especially do one of those, leave a comment, like, and subscribe.
Yeah, no, please do. As much as I do want to talk about something we liked at some point. Like, I want to talk about Eva.
Yeah, we should watch Flip Flappers.
Flip Flappers or Eva or something. We are going to talk about Silent Voice at some point, right?
So, someday we will destroy Silent Voice, and then everyone will be like, oh, we were mistaken. It was bad, actually. And then we'll get the Nobel Prize for bad anime.
Yeah. For services to bad anime.
Yes.
All right. Cool.
All right, good job, team.
Yeah.
If you really listen to all this, thank you.
If you want to find more stuff like this that has me in it, I do a podcast called Failure to Launch. It has a library of about 100 or so eps where it's like analysing failed television pilots.
Yes, it's good.
Roughly of the same genre.
And if you want to see me be like, hey, if you think these magical girls stories are so bad, why don't you make one? It's called Sleepless Domain, and it's a webcomic, and I think it's aight.
I think it's pretty good. Oh, God, you so rarely have a comeback to that stupid argument, but you actually do. It's great.
Yes. Because Yuki Yuna especially is one where there's a lot of, like, there's some parallels, like they're in this isolated city and all this stuff. So a lot of times I'd be thinking, like, oh, God, if I was making Yuki Yuna, I'd do it like this, and I'd be like, wait, I'm already doing that.